Wait. Stop, Lux shouted, frantically waving his hands. We're on the same side. That skeleton is my summon. The dwarven defenders hesitated, arrows notched, but no longer loosed. Suspicion still lingered in their eyes as they eyed the skeletal figure that had appeared so suddenly on the ramparts. Lux rushed forward, scooping up the chattering skull of Diablo from the ground. For a brief moment, he could have sworn the skeleton grumbled about being struck by friendly fire. Once reassembled, Diablo stood tall, tall for a skeleton, and turned to the defenders. Then, with deliberate intent, it raised a bony middle finger at them. Lux, reacting instinctively, covered Colette's eyes. That was not something a 12-year-old needed to see. Only now did Lux realize how little he knew about his named creature. Diablo clearly had intelligence and personality. Diablo, Lux said firmly, stay by my side at all times. We're defending this village together. Got it. The skeleton gave a solemn nod and stepped behind Lux like a personal guardian, its hollow gaze scanning for threats. Wow, Mr. Skeleton looks so cool. Colette chirped. Just call him Diablo. Okay, from now on, it's Mr. Diablo. Nice to meet you, Mr. Diablo. Diablo's jaw clacked in amusement before patting the little dwarf's head gently, oddly endearing for something undead. But their moment was cut short when another dwarf stomped over and yanked Colette away. Hey, Maddie, what are you doing? She protested, glaring at the boy who always found a way to interfere. The battle's about to begin, Maddie said seriously. You're our leader. You belong with us. He's older, he'll manage. Maddie shot Lux a defiant glare. You don't need a little girl babysitting you, right? Lux smiled lightly. No, I don't. I'm here to protect all of you. That earned a round of skeptical stares from Colette's party. Maddie scoffed. Save the hero talk. Just try not to die in the first wave. He turned back to Colette. Let's go. Colette puffed her cheeks. Fine. Big brother. Do your best, okay? I'll be watching. I'll help if you need me. Haha, sure. Lux replied with a nod. Then he called out, Oi, Maddie. What? Keep her safe. Think you can handle that? Maddie didn't reply with words. He raised a short sword and stared out toward the incoming horde. They'll have to kill me first if they want to get to her, he said before pulling Colette away. Lux watched them go, a smirk tugging at his lips. Puppy love. He didn't mind the kids' attitude. They were all children in his eyes. Turning back to the battlefield, Lux focused on what lay ahead. The undead swarm was closing in, barely 100 meters from the village's wooden barricades. In his left hand, Lux gripped the Elysium Compendium. In his right, a fist-sized stone. Analyzing enemy forces. Undead skeleton. HP, 15 ATK, 3 to 10. Skeleton warrior. HP, 30 ATK, 5 to 15. Zombie. HP, 20 ATK, 5 to 8. Ghoul. HP, 50 ATK, 8 to 15. No range types. That's a relief, Lux thought. But there are far too many of them. This was a battle of attrition, and the undead had the edge. Leaf Village had around 700 defenders. 300 were guards and combat-capable adults. The rest? Dwarven trainees still earning their apostle ranks. Lux lifted the compendium again, this time to count the enemy forces. Undead army, 9,889. *T. Lux muttered, his gut twisting. Almost 10,000. How are we supposed to survive this? As if in response, a quest notification materialized before him. Quest. Survive the monster outbreak. Cross towards a monster outbreak is threatening Leaf Village. Directed objective. Survive for 1 hour. Prohibited, you cannot teleport or leave the area. Skull mission fails if you die. 3 o'clock outbreak duration. 59 to 46. Trophy rewards. 10 free stat points. 100 skill points. 50 body constitution. 20 Elysium silver coins. Lux grit his teeth. The rewards were great, but first, he had to live to claim them. The village bells wailed through the night. Then, faintly, Lux heard another bell, one not belonging to Leaf Village. He paused, straining his senses. North, he realized. It's coming from the north. Suddenly, it clicked. Reinforcements. They'll arrive in an hour. That's why we need to hold out. Whether it was fact or desperate hope, Lux clung to it. Just then, a powerful voice rang out. "Everyone, listen up," shouted a dwarf clad in full armor. "I'm Aaron, captain of the guard. Reinforcements are on their way. We hold the line for 1 hour. No one dies, you hear me? Now prepare yourselves." A blowhorn blared, signaling the start of the battle. "Archers, take aim." Aaron bellowed. Arrows and bolts were notched. The air tensed. Lux tightened his grip on the rock and aimed at the nearest ghoul lumbering toward them. Fire at will. The sky darkened with projectiles as a deadly rain crashed into the oncoming horde, tearing through flesh and bone. And so Lux's first monster outbreak began, unaware of how or if it would end. Lux quickly realized just how battle-hardened the guards of Leaf Village truly were. This wasn't their first monster outbreak. Their formation was tight, coordination flawless, every strike purposeful. They were veterans through and through. But even the most seasoned fighters couldn't ignore the odds. The sheer number of undead pouring toward the walls threatened to overwhelm them by sheer attrition. And among the shambling hordes, stronger enemies lurked. At the base of the defensive ramparts, Lux spotted them, hulking figures with blue-tinged skin and glinting armor among the mass of bones and rotting flesh. "Foreigners, take the front lines. Focus fire on skeletons and zombies." Captain Aaron's voice rang out. "Everyone else, take out the Draugr. Don't let them breach the walls." Draugr, undead warriors clad in armor, tougher and far more dangerous than their mindless kin. Grade D apostles at minimum. Draugr. Type: undead. Rank 1 monster. HP: 2500/2500. Mana: 400/400. Strength: 50. Vitality: 50. Agility: 40. Dexterity: 40. Intelligence: 20. Skill / Lux knew better than to test his strength against them. Instead, he stuck to what he could handle: skeletons and zombies, loosing power shots into the masses. Bones littered the ground. For a few minutes, it felt like they were holding their own. Then the tide shifted. Undead began scaling the walls, using the very bones of their fallen as footholds. Some climbed over each other like a grotesque ladder. "They're climbing," Lux gasped, knocking an arrow as the first ghoul crested the rampart. Aaron barked rapid-fire orders, but the undead kept coming. One scream pierced the chaos, shrill and young. Lux turned toward the sound. A Draugr had made it to the wall and impaled a guard through the chest. Blood splattered across the rampart as the dwarf crumpled. Aaron charged with a roar, swinging his mithril hammer in a wide arc that sent the Draugr sailing off the wall. The guard lived barely. His armor had slowed the strike. Lux expected the man to retreat. But no. Despite the wound, the dwarf raised his mace with one hand, clutching his bleeding chest with the other, and kept fighting. "Someone heal him!" Lux shouted, right before Diablo parried a strike meant for Lux's head. This world wasn't a game. The people here weren't NPCs. That lesson had been drilled into him by Ariel before he ever set foot in Elysium. "Focus on what's in front of you, boy," a guard beside him shouted, slamming a shield into a zombie's face. "He'll be fine after a drink or two. Just keep swinging your blade." Lux wanted to argue, but instinct took over. A skeleton's sword slashed toward his face. He raised his shield, Dawn, and deflected the blow, countering with a brutal shield bash that shattered the monster's skull. How the hell are we supposed to last an hour like this? All around him, chaos reigned. The town's guards, Colette's party, and even the young dwarves, children, really, fought tooth and nail. Lux's forest wolf carried a wounded girl from the wall toward the rear lines. There were too many injured and not enough clerics. The few who could heal were overwhelmed. Guards protected the children with their lives. Many paid the ultimate price, falling beside the very kids they'd sworn to defend. Colette and Maddie were being pushed back, buried under a wave of zombies. Meanwhile, the guards tried to hold off the Draugr, shielding the weaker foreigners from the real threats. Seeing no other option, Aaron gave the order. "Fall back, regroup, and use guerrilla tactics." "What about the villagers?" Colette cried as she retreated alongside a guard. "They're in the underground shelters, lass," the man called back. "They're safer than we are out here. Now hurry and don't let the dead bite you." The battle raged on. Not all villagers had evacuated. Some fired crossbows from rooftops. Others swung axes in the streets, protecting loved ones hiding below. Lux shuttled the wounded to the rear, where clerics worked furiously to heal whoever they could. To avoid friendly fire, he kept Diablo close to Colette's party, away from guards who might mistake him for a hostile. Diablo had already perished 3 times, each time throwing himself between an attack and an ally. Lux was carrying a bloody dwarf boy when a one-armed draugr stepped in his path. Its blade still dripped from its last kill. Panic surged. He couldn't outrun the monster and protect the child. Dropping the boy might save his own life, but then came fire. The draugr exploded into burning chunks, leaving only a glowing blue beast core behind. "Go, child. I'll buy you time," came a calm, familiar voice. Lux turned, eyes wide. "Grandma Annie?" The elderly dwarf stood tall, wooden cane in hand. "Yes, it's me." She poured a potion onto the boy's wound and helped him drink the rest. The boy stirred, unsteady but alive. "Get to safety," Lux told him, but Annie's voice was firm. "I told you to go too, didn't I?" She pointed her cane at the next wave of skeletons. Fire bullet barrage. Spheres of flame spun outward, vaporizing the advancing undead. The monsters fell, bones clattering across the stone. "You've done well," Annie said, stooping to pick up the beast core. She handed it to Lux. "Take this, a reward for your effort." Lux hesitated, but Annie's expression brooked no refusal. "You want to help more people? Then get stronger. I'll handle this side. You catch up when you're ready." Her eyes narrowed at the horde. "I might not be opening my shop tomorrow," she muttered. "Damn trespassers." She turned, her flame orbs circling again as she marched forward. Lux looked down at the glowing core in his hand. "Ding. Do you wish to consume the rank 1 beast core?" "Yes/no." "Yes." If he wanted to protect anyone, he couldn't stay the same. He needed power.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
After choosing yes, 2 more options appeared in front of Lux. Upgrade stat points. Upgrade skills. This was the question that stomped Lux in the past, but now he understood what he needed to do. Upgrade stat points. Lux ordered and the beast core in his hand was consumed. Upgrade stat points has been chosen. Are you sure about your decision? Yes/no. Lux said yes to confirm his decision. Immediately, the beast core turned into particles of light and was absorbed by his body. Several rows of text appeared in front of him, showing him the results of the beast core consumption. Obtained 5 free stats points. Obtained 10 body constitution points. You have acquired the skill slash. Active skill. Requires 2 mana to use. Slash at your enemy dealing plus 20 physical damage. Skill evolution. EX detected a new skill. Slash skill will be upgraded into Fury Slash once the requirements have been met. Fury Slash. Active skill. Requires 5 mana to use. Slash at your enemy dealing plus 40 physical damage. If your target has less than half of its health remaining, deals an additional plus 40 damage to your attack. Requirements to upgrade. Use /100x. Progress 0/100. Lux immediately put 3 of his stat points into strength and 2 into vitality, increasing his attack power, defense, and health points. A/N. Although I didn't mention it in the previous chapters, 1 vitality point is equivalent to 1 defense point. Name: Lux von Kaiser. Age: 16. Race: half-elf. Rank: none. Health: 35/35. Mana: 5/25. Strength: 13. Intelligence: 5. Vitality: 7. Agility: 9. Dexterity: 8. Special abilities: Skill, Evolution, EX. Skills: Power Shot / Immortal Conqueror's Legacy. Rating F. Progress: 26 out of 100. Lux unsummoned his soul book as soon as he finished adding his stat points. He then ran after Grandma Annie, who was now actively shooting fire bullets at every undead that she encountered. The half-elf could see her breathing raggedly, but the old lady kept on hurling fire bullets at the undead who were about to strike the defenders, who were slowly losing ground with each passing minute. Lux was about to run past Grandma Annie to help Colette and her friends when the old lady stopped him. "Take this, Lux," Grandma Annie said as she handed him a dozen honey-flavored leaf candies that restored health and mana by 50 points. "Don't use them sparingly. I have plenty of those, so if you run out, just come and find me." Grandma Annie winked at Lux before putting a candy inside her mouth. Immediately, her complexion became better after replenishing her mana reserves. "I will," Lux nodded. "Thank you, Grandma Annie." Lux gave her a brief bow before running towards Colette, Maddie, and Diablo, who were in an intense battle against several undead that had encircled them. Just as he arrived at their location, Diablo turned into particles of light after getting slashed by an undead that was meant to hit Maddie from behind. "Rise and fight once more, Diablo," Lux ordered, and the white skeleton reappeared beside him with red flames burning in its hollow eye sockets. Lux felt a bit lightheaded because his mana had almost dropped to 0 after summoning his named creature for the 4th time. He hurriedly ate one of the candies that Grandma Annie gave to him, and immediately felt better afterwards. "Colette, take one and give the rest to your friends," Lux ordered as he handed 6 candies to the little girl who was breathing heavily. Her tear-stained face, which was proof of the terrible things that she witnessed tonight, made his heart ache. "These candies will help you recover your stamina, as well as your mana," Lux explained. "Do you see that old lady over there shooting fire bullets? If you need more candies, just go to her." Colette was still in a daze, but she was able to nod her head in understanding. After passing the candies to his friends, she ate one, which immediately made her feel that her strength had returned to her. "Let's fight together," Lux said as he faced the undead that had now gathered up in front of them. "Right." Colette gripped her mace with both hands. "Everyone, let's fight." "Yes." "Summon Forest Wolf," Lux ordered, and a meter-tall Forest Wolf appeared beside him. Although the Forest Wolf was only slightly stronger than a skeleton warrior, having more allies was better than having none. "Charge!" Lux shouted as he ran with Diablo and the Forest Wolf at his left and right side. Colette and her party was right behind him as they supported Grandma Annie in holding back the undead. "Slash!" Lux shouted as he slashed his sword in a wide arc, instantly beheading 2 zombies in front of him. Fury Slash. Progress, 1 out of 100. The low-tier undead didn't drop beast cores. Only ranked 1 monsters and above, like the Draugr, had them. Unlike the half-elf, Colette and the others gained experience points from killing monsters. These points allowed them to level up, which gave them free stat points that they could distribute freely depending on their wishes. At first, Lux argued with Ariel that this was unfair treatment. Unlike the other Solaians, who could level up, the half-elf didn't have this advantage. Ariel smiled at him at that time and told him the reason why he was unable to gain experience points by killing monsters. It was because his soul was damaged and wasn't able to be born naturally in the world of Solais. Because of this, the laws of the world didn't apply to him because he was more of a transmigrator than a reincarnator. However, Ariel assured him that compared to Solaians, Lux's progress was far superior. Instead of waiting to level up, he would receive quests that would directly upgrade his stats and skill points, which Colette and her friends were unable to do. Also, Ariel added that each time a person in Solais leveled up, they would only get 3 stat points that they could distribute freely. Although they could progress faster in the earlier levels, when it came to the middle levels, unless their families were rich and had many beast cores and other resources in their possessions, Lux would leave them in the dust because of his no leveling up stats and skill points upgrade. Slash! Lux faced 3 zombies and cut their bodies in half with the sword in his hand. Fury Slash. Progress, 5/100. Checking his mana reserves, Lux sighed when he realized that he could at most use /5 more times before his mana points would be down to 5. His mana regeneration of 1 mana point recovered every 2 minutes was not enough to obliterate the low-tier undead in his path. "I'll add some points to intelligence later," Lux thought as he used a shield to block the attack aimed at his chest. At this rate, I might choose the magic swordsman profession when I get a total of 100 combined stat points. Just like in games, there's also a job class change mechanic in Elysium. They could use this function by going to the Adventurers Guild, temples, or shrines that were scattered all over Elysium. Just as the red-headed boy was sighing over his limited mana capacity, Grandma Annie shouted for them to retreat. Lux backed off just in time to dodge a thrown sword headed in his direction. When the red-headed boy looked in the direction where the sword had come from, he found 3 draugrs walking leisurely towards their group, which made his expression turn grim instantly. **T. Lux cursed out loud at the 3 rank 1 monsters that had come to personally deal with them. "Run," Grandma Annie ordered. "I can beat one of them, but I can't beat 3 at the same time. Let's retreat." Colette and her friends supported the old lady as they retreated, but the draugrs didn't plan to just watch and let them escape. "Block them," Lux ordered. The forest wolf and Diablo moved forward to intercept the 3 draugrs in order to buy them some time to escape their pursuit. Unfortunately, it only took 1 slash for the forest wolf and Diablo to turn into particles of light, which only brought them a few seconds of reprieve. Gritting his teeth, Lux stopped running and held his ground. Holding his shield, Dawn, and one-handed sword, Tranquility, he once again summoned Diablo and the forest wolf by his side. After doing so, he swapped his sword for the Dagger of Frost. Dagger of Frost. Rarity, rare. Dagger. Attack, 10 to 15 frost damage. Allows you to use the skill Ice Slash. Ice Slash deals 20 to 25 frost AoE cone damage to creatures that are within 5 meters away from the user. Has a chance of freezing the user's enemy for 5 seconds. Skill cooldown, 2 minutes. Ice Slash. Lux roared, sending a white, crescent, energy blade flying towards the 3 draugrs that were running towards him. 2 of the monsters were frozen in ice, while the third one brushed off the attack despite it dealing significant damage to its body. The forest wolf growled as it lunged at the draugr, biting its neck. Diablo, on the other hand, slashed at the draugr's hand that carried its weapon in an attempt to disarm it. Unfortunately, the bone sword wasn't strong enough to cut the hand off, making Diablo's attempt futile. This exchange lasted only for a few seconds before the forest wolf and Diablo, once again, turned into particles of light after receiving the draugr's counterattack. During this brief period, Lux forcefully chewed another candy inside his mouth, recovering his mana at a fast rate. No sooner had the draugr killed the 2 annoying pests than the wolf and the skeleton reappeared in front of it to continue attacking it from both sides. It was also at this moment when the other 2 draugrs broke out of their frozen state, roaring in anger. Their eyes locked on Lux's with the intention of tearing him apart. However, before the 2 draugrs could even get close to the half-elf, the 3rd draugr had once again killed Diablo and the forest wolf. It then roared and sent a hate-filled punch towards the red-headed boy, who hurriedly raised his shield to defend himself. A loud crash reverberated in the air, followed by a pained cry as Lux was sent flying by the draugr's attack. The boy's body landed over a dozen meters away from where he previously stood and rolled on the ground for a few meters more before stopping completely. Lux's body was racked in pain, especially his left arm, which was bent in an unnatural angle. It was so painful that the half-elf's vision blurred as tears streamed down his face while he gasped for breath. With every breath he took, he felt a sharp pain in his chest and wondered how many of his ribs were broken. Gritting his teeth, he tried to stand up, but he couldn't muster any strength in his body. "Grandma!" Vera, Lux said between pain breaths. "Sorry." Lux looked up at the 3 draugrs who were looking down on him, with their swords raised high. He knew that he no longer had the ability to dodge the assault of the 3 rank 1 monsters that surpassed his current abilities. His only regret was that he wouldn't be able to keep his promises to his grandma Vera, Ariel, and Max. "I'm sorry." Lux sighed as he closed his eyes, waiting for the strikes that would end his life, but they never came. Instead, he felt a wave of hot air wash over his body, making him open his eyes abruptly. The three draugrs in front of him were roaring in pain as their bodies were consumed by blazing flames that illuminated the dark night. It was also at that moment when the mighty sound of a blowing horn reached Lux's ears. The ground trembled as hundreds of hooves made their way towards the front lines of the battle. Suddenly, something jumped over Lux's body that was lying on the ground. As if time had slowed down, Lux was able to see the face of an armor-wearing dwarf, who looked down on him from the back of a 1.5-meter tall mountain goat. Their gazes met for what seemed like an eternity before time once again flowed naturally. "Charge!" The dwarf that had jumped over Lux's body shouted. "Ride, warriors of Noria! Push them back! Kill!" Hundreds of mounted goat riders had passed over Lux's body as they shouted their war cries. The goats rammed the undead army, obliterating the skeleton warriors that blocked their way. The weakest of the goat riders were equivalent to Grade C apostles, rank 2 monster, which was more than enough to easily beat 2 draugrs simultaneously. Cheering broke out across the village as their powerful reinforcements arrived. Lux felt his body easing up as he heard the sound of war cries spread across the village because powerful reinforcements from the stronghold of Noria had arrived. They cut through the undead horde like a hot knife cutting through butter, immediately turning the tides of battle. Due to how intense the situation was, Lux had completely forgotten to check the remaining time of the quest that he had deemed almost impossible to clear. Soon, the half-elf lay on the ground motionless. He had fallen unconscious due to exhaustion and relief. The half-elf didn't even stir at the ringing sound that marked the successful completion of his quest, which had pushed his physical, mental, and emotional states to their limit. When Lux opened his eyes, he found himself inside an unfamiliar room. After looking around, still half asleep, the images of what happened a few hours ago flashed inside his head, which woke him up completely. The monster outbreak. Lux immediately inspected his body and was surprised to find out that he didn't feel pain anywhere. Even his left arm that had been broken due to the Draugr's attack was working properly, which made the half-elf think that everything that happened was just a dream. Was that really just a dream? Lux frowned. I'd better confirm it. The first thing Lux did was summon his soul book to see his stats. If it was really a dream, then he wouldn't have an increase in stats points, nor would he have learned the skill slash. No, it wasn't a dream. Lux sighed as he looked at his information. There had been a significant increase to his strength, as well as the gaining of the skill slash, which was on its way to evolve into Fury slash. Lux sighed as he walked towards the window of the room. The sun was already at its zenith, which meant that he had woken up very late. The red-headed boy viewed the houses within his vision and noticed that some of them had been damaged here and there, but most of them remained intact. The defenders had used some of the houses as strategic locations in order to use hit-and-run tactics against the undead. As he was observing the surroundings, the half-elf noticed a dwarf wearing armor mounted on a mountain goat. By the looks of it, he was patrolling the village and making sure that everything was in order. Just as Lux was thinking about what to do next, he heard a knock on the door that broke him out of his daze. "Come in." Lux subconsciously called out to the one knocking on the door. When the door opened, the old lady dwarf whom Lux was very familiar with smiled when she saw him already awake. Although the clerics healed your body a few hours ago, they might have missed a few spots, Annie said as she walked towards Lux. "Is there any place that still hurts? I still have some healing potions with me." Lux shook his head. "I'm fine, Grandma Annie. What happened to Colette and the others?" "Are you talking about those children who fought with us last night?" "Yes. They have also been treated by the clerics. A few hours ago, they went to the plaza before they returned home," Annie answered. "If I'm not mistaken, they said that they would report what happened here to their elders. Many people died last night. Fortunately, no more than a dozen children passed away due to the efforts of the village guards and the reinforcements that came from the stronghold of Noria." Grandma Annie had a very sad expression on her face as she talked about the deaths of the children. "It is a bit embarrassing to say, but as an adult, we don't like to see children dying in front of us, even if they are foreigners," Annie stated. "Thanks to them, We were able to last as long as we could until the reinforcements arrived. Less than a dozen children had died during the hour of fighting due to the strong presence of Aaron and the village guards. According to Grandma Annie, almost 200 village guards died last night. That was almost 2/3 of the total number of guards that were protecting Leaf Village. If only there hadn't been any draugrs in the undead swarm, the number of casualties would have been much lower. Rank 1 monsters that numbered in the hundreds were a nightmare for a village located in the beginner zone. Aaron was a Grade C apostle, which was the equivalent of a Rank 2 monster. The rest of the town's guards were Grade D apostles, which meant they were only as strong as Rank 1 monsters. Grandma Annie, do monster outbreaks happen often? Lux asked as he sat on the couch, joining the old lady. Annie nodded. We get them once or twice a year. But this time around, it was quite problematic. I'm sure that the Stronghold will station at least a dozen or two of their goat riders here to protect the village for the time being. With them around, we will probably survive the next outbreak that is sure to happen in another half a year or so. Lux sighed as he thought of the bi-yearly calamity that the Leaf Village had to face. He asked Grandma Annie a few more questions, which the latter answered to the best of her abilities. Because of this, the half-elf was able to learn a lot of things. In the dwarven kingdom of Guelvin, villages would normally be built near a dwarven stronghold, which acted as its protector in times of need. The stronghold of Noria, for example, was the protector of 4 villages, including Leaf Village. The villagers used the bells to communicate with the stronghold over long distances when they were being attacked by a force that far surpassed their capabilities to defend against. In turn, the stronghold would then dispatch its goat riders to assist the villages to resist the threat that had come knocking on their doors. However, due to the distance, they needed at least an hour to arrive, which was why Lux's survival quest asked him to survive for an hour before the reinforcements came to their rescue. You were very brave last night, Lux, Annie said as she held the red-headed boy's hand firmly. Also, thank you for standing up to those draugrs to give us time to escape. I only did what had to be done, Lux replied. In the end, I was saved as well. Lux wasn't delusional to think that he could have survived his predicament by himself. If not for the timely arrival of the goat riders, he might have been added to the list of casualties of the monster outbreak who had died protecting the village. Although being regarded as a dead hero might be something that your bloodline could be proud of, a dead hero is still a dead hero. Lux would rather be alive than dead, so he was very thankful that he was still alive after that nightmarish night that he would always remember in his memories. Before I forget, please take this. Annie took out 3 blue beast cores and handed them to Lux. Those belong to the 3 bastards that tried to kill you last night. Lux didn't stand on ceremony and gratefully accepted the beast cores, which would allow him to grow stronger. Grandma, were you the one that saved me last night? Lux inquired. If you were asking who was the one that burned those draugrs, then yes, it was me, Annie answered. But it is not I who saved you, but it is you that saved me. If you didn't block their path, I and the children might have been grievously injured or worse dead. Also, you gave me enough time to cast a high-level spell, so it is still thanks to you that we were able to survive to live another day. Lux smiled and didn't say anything else. As if waiting for this moment, his stomach growled in protest to tell him that he had not eaten breakfast. Grandma Annie chuckled and bid Lux to follow her down the dining area to have lunch with her. Naturally, the half-elf accepted her offer and enjoyed rice porridge with egg that was prepared especially for him. After eating a filling lunch, Grandma Annie told him to rest more inside the guest room because the village was still in a bad state. Lux nodded his head in agreement and thanked Grandma Annie for her hospitality. Right after he closed the door of his room, the red-headed boy sat on the couch and summoned his soul book. He opened the quest page and saw the completion mark on top of it. He then eyed the rewards that he had no time to check last night due to exhaustion. Survive the monster outbreak. Status completed. Rewards: 10 free stat points, 100 skill points, 50 body constitution points, 20 Elysium silver coins. Bonus reward: 100 skill points. I gain a bonus of 100 skill points after completing the quest, which gives me a total of 200 skill points, Lux mused. With this, I won't need to use the beast cores I earned to upgrade Diablo. I have enough points to upgrade him twice. Last night, he realized how fragile Diablo was when facing a monster that was a tier higher than him. Just a single punch was enough to obliterate his named creature, and it made Lux very sad to see his partner die like that. Don't worry, Diablo, Lux thought. I will ensure that no Draugr will be able to one-shot you in the future. Lux had a determined look as he opened Diablo's personal page in his soul book. He was quite excited to see how powerful his partner would be after he was upgraded twice. Diablo. Progress. 35 out of 100. So, I need 65 skill points to upgrade Diablo once. Lux muttered as he checked how much progress his named creature had made in the short time he had been in Elysium. The half-elf didn't bat an eye and used the needed skill points to upgrade his partner, who had fought alongside him during the greatest battle he had experienced in his lifetime. Diablo. Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. Named Skeleton. Rating E. Mana 10. Progress 0/100. Health 55/55. Mana 60/60. Attack 8 to 15, plus 20 damage from Tranquility. Attack type ethereal damage. Strength 13. Intelligence 12. Vitality 11. Agility 12. Dexterity 12. Title Firstborn. Note, congratulations. Your named creature is now capable of equipping items. Take note that it can only equip items that match its current stats. Equip items? Lux blinked as he gazed at the new bookmark that appeared in Diablo's profile. After clicking the equipment page, an idea suddenly appeared on Lux's head. Come forth, Diablo, Lux ordered. A magic circle appeared on the ground in front of him, and his trusted partner emerged from it. Can you equip this? Lux asked as he handed Tranquility to Diablo, who didn't look any different from his pre-upgraded state. The white skeleton unsummoned its bone sword and held Tranquility in a firm grip, giving it a few practice swings. Lux glanced at Diablo's equipment page and saw Tranquility appear in its right-hand weapon slot. Okay, take these as well, Lux ordered as he handed his shield, Dawn, and his wolf's leather armor over to Diablo, which made the skeleton look like a decent skeleton warrior that was missing his pants. The half-elf chuckled when he looked at this funny scene. To his surprise, Diablo also chuckled with its jaws rattling nonstop. Okay, how do you feel? Lux asked. Do you feel stronger now? The white skeleton nodded, its head in affirmation to its master's inquiry. The red-headed boy smiled as he gazed at his remaining skill points. Free stat points available, 10. Free skill points available, 135. Just as he planned, Lux used another 100 skill points to upgrade Diablo and made him stronger. Diablo, finally a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. Named Skeleton. Rating E+. Mana 10. Progress 0/100. Health 105/110. Mana 110/110. Attack 16 to 25 plus 20 damage from Tranquility. Attack type ethereal damage. Strength 23. Intelligence 22. Vitality 21. Agility 22. Dexterity 22. Title Firstborn. Skills / Note, not bad. Your thug is now stronger than a typical mob character. They say that one good thing leads to another. On your next upgrade, your named creature will have a qualitative boost in its overall strength and performance. Look forward to it. Free stat points available, 10. Free skill points available, 35. Nice! Lux wasn't able to hide his appreciation as he looked at Diablo's current stats. Just like the note at the end of his named character's profile said, Diablo had indeed become stronger than he was before. Also, just based on stats alone, the white skeleton was even stronger than his master, Lux, who was looking at his partner with admiration. The other thing that made Lux happy was the information that Diablo would have a qualitative boost in his overall performance on his next upgrade. Partner, take care of me from now on, Lux said as he extended his hand for a handshake. Kakik, Diablo chuckled as he extended his hand to shake his master's hand. Lux was caught by surprise, because although Diablo had shown signs that it was an intelligent creature, this was the first time that it had attempted to talk to him. Not only that, the white skeleton's thoughts were clearer now compared to how they were in the past. The half-elf could now understand it, even though it was not speaking any formal language. Amazing. You are amazing, Diablo. Kakik. A few minutes later, Lux unsummoned Diablo and stared at the 3 blue beast cores in front of him. He was hesitating about whether he should use them to upgrade Diablo or not, or use them to upgrade his own stat points. After much deliberation, the red-headed boy decided to use them to upgrade himself. The monster outbreak had shown him how much he was lacking in terms of combat ability. His mana was quite low, so he easily ran out of juice after using the slash skill and summoning Diablo and the forest wolf several times to bolster his forces. Now that Diablo has tranquility, he can summon the forest wolf by himself. Lux muttered as he played with one of the beast cores on the palm of his hand. He also learned slash, so he is capable of dealing greater damage to our enemies now. Although he is still weaker than a Draugr, he won't die after getting hit once. After pondering for a while, Lux returned the beast cores to his storage ring and went to talk with Grandma Annie. "You're going now?" Annie asked as she looked at Lux with concern. Lux nodded. "Yes, Grandma Annie. I will return home for a while." Annie smiled after finding out the red-headed boy's reason for leaving. "That's good," Annie replied. "Let your loved ones know that you are safe. You can always return here whenever you want. My house is always open for you." "Thank you, Grandma Annie, for your care and hospitality. I'll be going now. Have a safe trip." As Lux walked the streets of Leaf Village, he genuinely felt the sadness of the people living in it. Just like Ariel had said, there were no NPCs in Elysium. In short, the people here were no different from him. All of them were alive and knew how to feel happiness, sadness, anger, and helplessness. But, aside from his sadness, Lux also noticed something had changed in the hearts of people around him. They no longer looked at him with a guarded expression. Some of them even went out of their way to give him a brief nod of acknowledgement as he passed through them. The villagers heard how the half-elf had fought tooth and nail to defend their village from the monster outbreak. They no longer treated him as an outsider and had acknowledged his presence among them. For some reason, this made Lux feel warm and made his eyes water a bit. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had been starving for recognition all his life. Recognition from the people in Wildguard Stronghold. Recognition from his grandmother Vera. And recognition from the world he was living in. Now that he had finally taken a step into the world of Elysium, he understood more than ever how precious life was. Because of this, he wanted to return home to see his grandma and feel the warmth of having a family all over again. "I'm back," Lux said softly as he reappeared inside the training room of their residence. Before he could even take a step forward, the door of the room opened and Vera appeared with a surprised expression on her face. "I'm back, Grandma." Lux walked towards Vera and gave her a hug. "Welcome back." Vera hugged her grandson in a loving embrace. For some reason, she felt that Lux's presence was different compared to what it was before he went to Elysium. As someone who had experienced many things, she had a hunch that the red-headed boy had experienced something in Elysium that made him decide to go back home and see her. "Are you hungry?" Vera asked. "I just had lunch, but I can easily prepare something for you." Lux pulled back and shook his head. "It's fine, Grandma. I ate before coming here." "All right, let's go to the living room," Vera proposed as she lightly patted her grandson's shoulder. "Tell me about your adventures in Elysium." "Okay." Lux nodded. "It must have been a scary experience," Vera said as she pulled her grandson close to her. "I'm just glad that you survived." Lux had just finished his tale of the monster outbreak in Leaf Village, which made Vera's feel as if her heart was being squeezed inside her chest. Lux was one of her 3 remaining family members, and the thought of losing him made her feel very anxious. "I'm glad I survived as well, Grandma," Lux replied with his eyes closed. "During that time, I felt very sad about the possibility of leaving you all alone. In fact, I was more scared of you being alone than the thought of me dying. It's so painful that it hurts." Vera held Lux tighter. It was not only Lux who felt that way. She was also very scared of losing the grandson that she had raised since he was a baby. Will you return to Elysium? Yes. I need to go back. There's still many things I need to do. Vera sighed, but she didn't try to dissuade her grandson from his decision. The only thing she could do was give him her support and pray that he would be safe as he explored the world that she had journeyed through several years ago. Is there anything that I can help you with? Vera asked. As long as I have it, I will give it to you. Lux nodded. Grandma, I need weapons, armor, and other equipment. How about beast cores? Vera asked. I have some as well. Grandma, don't the rules of Wildguard Stronghold state that giving beast cores to beginners is not allowed? Lux asked. Gerald, the guardian of Wildguard Stronghold, had made a rule that the adults couldn't spoil their children and give them beast cores to increase their stats at an early stage. He believed that this kind of practice would only prevent the children from striving to reach a higher rank. If they could jump tiers at the get-go, then they would not develop the proper mindset of warriors who had undergone the baptism of blood. It was similar to the spoiled second rich generations, who enjoyed their current status due to their parents' achievements and hard work. Gerald wanted to have a strong community. He had no use for useless people with high stats who would only serve as cannon fodder when the real fighting began. Vera frowned because she understood what Lux was trying to say. However, she cared about the survival of her grandson, so she decided to reach a compromise with him. I will only give you 4 rank 1 beast cores, Vera replied. Don't worry, having that many isn't a big deal. Gerald's rules are there to remind the adults to not spoil their kids too much. I'm sure that he will not raise a fuss if I give you 4 low-grade beast cores. Lux pondered for a bit before reluctantly nodding his head. He thought that it was indeed not a big deal if he had 4 low-grade beast cores. Besides, he was also itching to raise Diablo's strength to the next level. Good. Now let's talk about equipment, Vera said. Let's go back to the training area. The living room is not big enough to unload the items I want to give to you. Lux was very keen to see what items his grandma had prepared for him. Gerald didn't forbid the adults from giving their children equipment to be used in Elysium. His reasoning behind this was very simple. Certain requirements must be met before certain types of equipment could be equipped. Take Lux's shield, for example. Dawn needed 10 points to strength before it could be used. 12-year-olds weren't that strong at the beginning. It would take them a while to level up and gain the strength necessary to equip the weapons, armor, and other artifacts that their parents had prepared for them. Also, these things could also be obtained in Elysium, so Gerald didn't see any problem in letting the kids have them. Since that was the case, the adults had an unwritten agreement that supplying their children with equipment was allowed, as long as they didn't blatantly announce it to the world. Lux's eyes widened in shock at the sheer number of equipment that Vera presented to him. Truthfully, Vera was only planning to give them to Lux if her grandson asked for her help. The things that she had prepared for him were all rare and unique weapons. The half-elf appraised these items one by one. He found out that he could only use most of them after he had stepped into the apostle rank, which was still quite a distance from his current state. Even so, he still found some set equipment that made him smile from ear to ear. Set equipment were items that gave decent boosts to attack, defense, and bonus stats when 2 or more of them were equipped. Come forth, Diablo! Lux shouted, and his trusty companion appeared beside him wearing the fox leather armor, Dawn, and Tranquility. Change your armor to this. Lux ordered as he pointed at a black set of armor that he had specially chosen for his partner. Diablo nodded and took off the wolf leather's armor and returned it to Lux. Wandering Knight set. Set requirement: 22 points to strength. Wandering Knight Greaves, plus 15 defense. Wandering Knight Tassets, plus 15 defense. Wandering Knight Breastplate, plus 15 defense. Wandering Knight Bracers, plus 15 defense. Wandering Knight Helmet, plus 15 defense. Wandering Knight Set Bonus. 2 pieces of equipment, plus 1 to strength. 3 pieces of equipment, plus 2 to vitality. 4 pieces of equipment, plus 2 to dexterity. 5 pieces of equipment, plus 50 health points, plus 25 all elemental resistance, plus 2 to agility. 20% damage reduction from physical attacks. Diablo had a complete makeover after putting on the black set of armor. His glowing red eyes could be seen through the helmet's eye slits, which gave him a very intimidating presence. It would have been perfect if his sword and shield were black as well. Lux muttered as he rubbed his chin in contemplation. Still, this will have to do for now. Diablo. Health, 165/165. Mana, 110/110. Attack, 18 to 27, plus 20 damage from Tranquility. Attack type, ethereal damage. Strength, 23, plus 1. Intelligence, 22. Vitality, 21, plus 2. Agility, 22, plus 2. Dexterity, 22, plus 2. Defense, 98. Title, Firstborn. Skills / Vera was surprised when she saw that the white skeleton was capable of equipping one of the armor sets that she had prepared for her grandson. She didn't expect Lux's named monster to have grown to such a degree. This gave her a feeling of comfort, knowing that there would be a dependable bodyguard following her grandson around in the world of Elysium. After admiring Diablo's new armor set for a while, Lux finally went to gather his own set of armor, which was called the Relentless Warrior Equipment Set. Relentless Warrior. Set requirement, 15 points to all stats. Relentless Warrior Circlet, plus 1 to Intelligence. Relentless Warrior Leather Armor, plus 15 Defense. Relentless Warrior Leather Tassets, plus 10 Defense. Relentless Warrior Arm Guard, plus 10 Defense. Relentless Warrior Boots, plus 10 Defense. Relentless Warrior Set Bonus, 2 pieces of equipment, plus 3 to Strength. 3 pieces of equipment, plus 3 to Agility. 4 pieces of equipment, plus 3 to Dexterity. 5 pieces of equipment, plus 150 health points, plus 40 defense, plus 10 all elemental resistance. 10% damage reduction from physical attacks. Lux still didn't meet the requirements for this armor set, but with the help of the 7 beast cores in his possession, he was certain that he would be able to equip this set without any problem. For the record, equipment sets were not easy to get. They could only be farmed in certain dungeons in Elysium that required a party of 6 or more to complete. Thank you, Grandma, Lux said after storing the Relentless Warrior set in his storage ring. You're welcome, said Vera as she returned the other items into her storage ring. Several of the items in her possessions had very high requirements. The only reason why she had shown them to Lux was to tell her grandson that these items were available to him at any time. Lux understood his grandma's gesture and was very happy inside his heart. Although some of the items he had seen would require him to reach the apostle grade, knowing that they were there made a difference. Grandma, you entered Elysium when you were young, right? Yes. Can you tell me what your starting village was like? Lux inquired. Did it also have monster outbreaks? Vera smiled as she made a gesture to Lux to follow her. 15 minutes later, the grandma and grandson pair drank tea as they stared at the garden of their residence. Before I tell you the tale of my younger days, let me tell you first how Elysium appeared, Vera said as she stared at the distance, relieving the memories of the past that appeared inside her head. The 100-Year War had just ended in Solais at that time, and the geography of this entire world had been changed forever. The living areas where people could live had decreased greatly. If you were to leave this territory, the only things you would see are wastelands. Much of the land has been changed, so no plants can grow, no water can be found, and no animal can stay for long due to poisonous fumes that erupt from the ground from time to time. In order to prevent the loss of more lives and lands, all the ruling nations came to an agreement. They agreed that no more large-scale wars would be waged on the surface of Solais. In order to make this pact binding, they begged the gods that had chosen to abandon this world to grant them this last wish. Perhaps due to pity, or perhaps because they truly wished to cut all connections to this world, the gods agreed. Since then, a universal law has enveloped this world to prevent large-scale wars from happening again. Right now, the only points of conflict are border issues, but most of the time, only small skirmishes happen. No one dares to violate the rule, because they won't be able to bear the consequences of their actions. Vera drank her tea before continuing her tale. Several years passed, and everyone had been living their lives peacefully when they suddenly heard a voice filled with power reverberate across the heavens, Vera said as she looked at her reflection on the tea's surface. The voice said, "The world is dying, but the way to save it can be found in Elysium." Suddenly, teleportation gates appeared in several places around the world that allowed anyone to gain access to Elysium. And the Wild Guard stronghold was built to monopolize one of those passageways. Because of this, it became the overlord of this territory. The villages and towns surrounding us send their children here in the hopes that they will be allowed entry into this unknown world that holds infinite possibilities. Lux, who was listening quietly on the side, frowned. He had grown up within the walls of the stronghold, and had seen these children travel to their keep in order to pay tribute and get access to the teleportation gate that led to Elysium. "Grandma, I've never thought of this before, but am I considered lucky?" Lux asked. "All I need to do is pass the trial, and I can enter Elysium. Others need to pay a fee before they can enter the teleportation gate. Could it be that I didn't notice how privileged I've been all these years?" Vera chuckled. "Well, it was very rare for you to leave the walls of the stronghold, so you were not aware of the situation outside. In a way, you are indeed privileged. You don't need to worry about paying fees and meeting strict requirements to enter Elysium. The other villages and towns in our domain also pay taxes to us on a quarterly basis. But in return for these offerings, the stronghold is obligated to protect them from all forms of aggression, including the beast tides that happen every 3 to 5 years. The role we play is similar to the stronghold of Noria that protects Leaf Village." Lux nodded his head in understanding. "Then, the kids of the other villages who enter Elysium, what becomes of them?" "They will randomly appear in one of the 4 villages that our faction belongs to in the Navarre Empire," Vera answered. "When we arrived at Elysium, there were already ruling families governing the territories we were teleported to. Some of us decided to build our own strongholds so that we could gain a foothold in that world. Others decided to form strong connections with the ruling families and earned enough merits to be bestowed a noble title, which allowed them to gain lands. The founder of Wild Guard Stronghold chose the second option and did his best to gain enough merits until he could be granted the title of a Viscount. This was how our faction was able to have our own domain in Elysium. It has grown since then. However, unlike the Leaf Village, our side doesn't have to worry about monster outbreaks." Lux nodded in understanding. "Grandma, what happens if the kids from our domain become rankers? How does the stronghold treat them?" "Good question." Vera nodded her head in appreciation for her grandson's curiosity. "As you already know, rankers are special cases. They are known to be powerhouses, so they are treated in a way deserving of their rank. However, being a ranker doesn't make your life any easier. You're almost always going out on missions for the kingdom, empire, or dynasty that you belong to. Lux, you already know this, but Elysium is not a peaceful place. Wars are no longer possible in Solais, but in Elysium, it is a very common thing. Battles between parties, gangs, clans, factions, and guilds happen on a daily basis. It's as if people have forgotten our true reason for going to Elysium, and that is to find a way to save our world. I'm afraid that with the way things are going, everyone in Solais will just choose to migrate to Elysium and abandon this ruined world for good." Vera chuckled as she looked at her grandson, who had a troubled look on his face. "Child, this matter is not something that you should think about," Vera said in a teasing tone. "This is for the adults to worry about. As for you, just focus on getting stronger. Right now, a rank 1 monster can kill you with a single slap. You don't have the qualifications to affect the bigger picture." Lux looked at his grandma with a complicated expression on his face. He had a feeling that Vera would only laugh at him if he told her that his purpose for coming into this world was to help save it. However, at the end of the day, his grandma was right. Someone who would die from a single slap of a rank 1 monster didn't really have the qualifications to make an impact on a world that was on the verge of collapse. "Big sister, you should really meet Big Brother Lux," Colette said with a smile. "Although he is a half-elf, he is as brave as a dwarf. Both of you are of the same age, and he is also very good-looking." A charming young lady with long blonde hair, tied in a ponytail, smiled back at her little sister, who had been chattering nonstop about the half-elf she had met in Leaf Village. Colette's older sister looked like a doll that was made to perfection. But, unlike the adorable Colette, her sister's charm was like a flower that was about to bloom. Her name was Aina, and she was recognized as one of the top prodigies in the dwarven kingdom of Guelvin, as well as the dwarven empire of Averith in Solais. This is the first time that I've heard of a half-elf, or any other race for that matter, appearing in the beginner's village in the dwarven lands of Elysium, Aina said with undisguised interest. So what is he like? Is he strong? Colette shook her head. He's not that strong, but he is very cool. During the battle, he prioritized saving dwarves and transporting the injured to the treatment area at the far end of the village, away from the fighting. Aina sipped the tea in her cup as she eyed her sister. Maybe he's just scared of fighting, so he prioritized taking the injured as an excuse to not get killed. Big Brother isn't like that. Colette pouted. If he's afraid of fighting, he wouldn't have faced 3 draugrs to let us escape. Those are 3 rank 1 monsters. If Big Brother didn't block them, I might have also died, you know? I'm sorry. Aina apologized after seeing her sister's teary-eyed face. He is indeed not a coward. He is a very brave person. Yes, he is a very brave person. I already told Father that he saved my life, and he agreed to give him 10 rank 2 beast cores as a thank you gift. Father sure is generous. Yes, Aina smiled. She could already understand what her father was thinking. If her guess was right, her father was indeed very thankful to the half-elf for saving her sister's life. However, gifting the young generation was akin to spoiling them and making their lives easier. This would give them a fake sense of security, seeing that their stat points would drastically increase due to the power of the beast cores. But, at the end of the day, even if they suddenly gained an increase in overall stats, there were still many dangers in Elysium that could end their lives if they weren't careful. Father's purpose is to let Lux graduate from the beginner's village, so that Colette would no longer be able to meet up with him again, Aina thought. I guess this is not a bad thing. Once he steps into the intermediate area, I will be able to see this big brother that Colette is so proud of. The beginner villages would only allow foreigners to stay in them until they reached the apostle rank. Once they stepped into that realm, the laws of the world would only give them 10 days before forcefully teleporting them away to the nearest intermediate area in the vicinity. The only question is, which intermediate area will he be transported to? Aina frowned. The dwarven kingdom of Guelvin had over 20 intermediate towns for apostles and 5 cities, including the capital city, Ironwin, where the rankers of the realm stayed. Although 20 towns might seem like a small number, they were several miles apart from each other. Aina had only registered in 3 towns so far, which meant that she could teleport to these 3 towns whenever she liked. If Lux were to appear in any of the towns that she had visited before, she could personally thank the half-elf for saving her sister. 10 rank 2 beast cores would be enough to give him at least 100 stats points, Aina calculated in her head. This meant that he would just need 100 more in order to reach the limit of the beginner's village. If he's talented enough, it would only take him 2 months before he reached the apostle rank. Aina was using her knowledge about gaining experience for monster kills and leveling up in order to gain stat points. What she was not aware of was that Lux didn't need to level up and could directly earn points by finishing his quests. Big sister, once Big Brother and I come to the intermediate towns, make sure to take good care of us, okay? Colette said while holding her sister's hands and looking up at her with puppy eyes. Okay, Aina replied with a smile. However, you should understand that there will definitely be prejudiced people against him. Not many dwarves like humans, and although he is a half-elf, he might still be shunned because of his race. Colette nodded in understanding. Their dwarven empire, Averith, in Solais disliked humans because of what happened in the 100-Year War. Up to this day, the Averith royal family still held grudges against humans and refused to entertain discussions about reconciliation between the 2 races. So, when will you be going back to Elysium? Aina asked. Colette pondered before raising 2 fingers. Mother said that I should stay for 2 days because she missed me terribly. Father is also preparing new equipment for me to ensure my safety. I already talked to Maddie, and he said that his parents were doing the same. It seems that what happened in Leaf Village made them realize that it isn't as safe as the other beginner villages due to the monster outbreak. Aina nodded in understanding. She, too, was surprised when she heard that a monster outbreak had happened in a beginner's village. Although this was not the first time something like this had happened, it was still something that the adults didn't want to hear. After all, if their children were to appear in Leaf Village at the wrong time, then they might also come face to face with a monster outbreak, which would lead them to an untimely demise. Father issued a decree ordering parents to educate their children about the dangers of Leaf Village, Aina stated. If they were to encounter a monster outbreak, all of them were ordered to flee the village or hide in the underground shelter until the reinforcement from Noria arrive. Should I do that as well, big sister? Of course. Your life is very important. If a monster outbreak happens, just bring your party to the underground shelter. All of you are still children, so the people in Leaf Village will not bat an eye and allow you to enter their shelter. Colette nodded. Understood. I will hide when a monster outbreak appears. I'm just wondering, will they also allow Big Brother to take shelter with us? Aina frowned. She didn't know the answer to this question, so she didn't dare give her sister false hope. I don't know if they will allow him inside the shelter or not, Aina replied. But it might be possible for him to leave Leaf Village long before the next monster outbreak starts. Ding. Do you wish to consume the rank 1 B score? Yes/no. Upgrade stat points. Upgrade skills. Lux consumed the 7 B scores and upgraded his stat points, which in turn upgraded his special body constitution. After the boost in stats, he was finally able to equip the Relentless Warrior set to his battle equipment page. Once someone had entered Elysium, their clothes inventory would be divided into 2 categories. The first category was fashion and the other was battle. As the name suggested, the fashion inventory would mostly store normal clothes, while the battle inventory would mostly store armors that people wore when they went to battle. Lux could easily swap between 2 sets depending on the situation. While other people liked to display their amazing armor for everyone to see, the half-elf didn't feel comfortable wearing it outside a battle. After allocating his points, Lux felt more confident about returning to Elysium and challenging the locations around Leaf Village. Name: Lux von Kaiser. Age: 16. Race: half-elf. Rank: none. Health: 225/225. Mana: 105/105. Strength: 20 + 3. Intelligence: 20 + 1. Vitality: 15. Agility: 17 + 3. Dexterity: 15 + 3. Defense: 100. Special abilities: Skill Evolution EX. Skills: Power Shot / Dark Arrow. Immortal Conqueror's Legacy. Rating F. Progress: 96 out of 100. Conquest is not all about claiming lands and expanding your domain. True conquest is conquering the hearts of people. Once you gain their loyalty, the path to dominion will open its doors for you. Abilities: none. Note: upgrading your special constitution will allow you to unlock its abilities. Dark Arrow. 2 mana. Hurls an arrow of darkness that has a small chance to blind your target. Skill Evolution EX detected a new skill. Dark Arrow will be upgraded into Void Arrow once the requirements have been met. Void Arrow. Hurls an arrow of darkness that has an intermediate chance to blind your target. Requirement to upgrade: successfully blind a target 30x. Progress: 0/30. Lux was quite happy to receive the Dark Arrow skill from the Beast Cores that he had received from his grandma. According to Vera, the Beast Cores came from the rank 1 monster called Nightshade Crow. This crow only hunted at night, and it was notorious for preying on the beginners who happened to step into its hunting grounds. Although the skills and the upgrade he received were good, there was still something that troubled the red-headed boy the most. Lux could feel his liver itching when he saw that his Immortal Conqueror's Legacy only needed 4 more points before it could complete its first upgrade. He was very curious about what kind of abilities it would unlock after it reached 100%. Because of this, Lux was hesitating whether or not he should ask his grandma for one more beast core in order to complete his upgrade. Vera could see his dilemma, but she only gave him a smile. She understood that look on her grandson's face, but she didn't want to spoil him too much. "Lux, I believe in you," Vera said as she patted her grandson's shoulder. "I look forward to the day when you're able to surpass me." Lux smiled and nodded his head. "I'm also hoping for that day to come, Grandma. That way, it will be my turn to protect and take care of you." Vera chuckled as she ruffled her grandson's hair. "No need to protect me. I'm already old enough to handle myself." "Then, Grandma, is there anything you want? No matter what it is, I'll give it to you without fail," Lux said with determination, which made Vera rub her chin in contemplation. After a few minutes, Vera flashed a mischievous grin to Lux and said her dearest wish. "I want to hold my great-grandchild," Vera replied. "It doesn't have to be now, but I want to see them within 7 years. Do you think you can grant this wish of mine?" Lux blushed because he didn't expect his grandma to ask him for a great-grandchild. Even so, he summoned his thick skin to give the person who raised him a determined answer. "Don't worry, Grandma," Lux said as he patted his chest with confidence. "Your grandson is very handsome. I'm sure that even if you cut the time down to 5 years, you'll be holding not just one, not just two, but many great-grandchildren in your arms." Vera clapped her hands together. "Wonderful. I didn't know that my grandson was so capable. Very well. I'll look forward to holding my great-grandchildren. You better work hard in Elysium and find me some good daughter-in-laws." Lux could feel his cheeks burning after his embarrassing declaration. However, since he had already said it, he would definitely fulfill it. The only problem was that he still had to wait a year before he could use the Whittlegard Stronghold's teleportation gate to connect to Elysium in order to meet with humans. Although the dwarven lands were good, he felt that the dwarves wouldn't like to have a half-elf staying in their domain for a very long time. "Grandma, I'm going now. Take care, Lux. Come home when you get homesick." Lux reluctantly took a step back after giving his grandma a hug. "Be safe, always," Vera said as she waved her grandson goodbye. Lux nodded. "See you soon, Grandma. Open Heaven's Gate." Lux strolled the streets of Leaf Village and saw that the houses that had been damaged during the monster outbreak were being repaired. While the dwarven children played on the streets, their parents busied themselves with helping their village restore its previous state. Lux took a deep breath before taking steady steps towards the Adventurers Guild. He also wanted to do his part to help Leaf Village in his own way. This was why Lux made a vow to himself. "It doesn't matter how long it takes," Lux thought as he walked towards the Adventurers Guild. "For as long as my heart keeps beating, I will do the right thing. That way, I can live this precious life given to me without any regrets." A week had passed since the monster outbreak. The residents of Leaf Village paid their respects to the brave men and women who had stood their ground to protect their village from the undead that had broken past their defenses. Because it was mainly the village's guards who battled against the monsters, they incurred the most casualties, and only a little more than 50 had survived. Aaron, who was the captain of the guards, had requested his counterparts from the Noria stronghold to station 30 goat riders in their village to help bolster their defenses. The commander of Noria approved his request and stationed a group of dwarven defenders, known as the Blackthorn, to guard Leaf Village for the time being. These 30 mounted warriors had the rank of Grade C Apostles, Rank 2 Monster, led by their rider captain, Boreas, who was a Grade B Apostle, Rank 3 Monster. Due to the intensity of the battle, Aaron had also broken through to the rank of a Grade B Apostle and had become a staunch defender of the village. It was quite unfortunate that his about 50 subordinates who fought alongside him didn't break through and remained as Grade D Apostles, Rank 1 Monster, falling short of reaching the next rank. All in all, more than 80 defenders were left in Leaf Village as protectors. "Adventurers Guild. Big brother, please take this," Colette said as she happily handed a storage bag to Lux. "This is a thank you gift from my father for saving my life." "A thank you gift?" Lux asked. "For saving your life? I don't remember doing that." Maddie, who was standing beside Colette, snorted. "She's talking about the time when you held back those 3 draugrs to let us escape." The young dwarf boy, who had never liked Lux, acted as obnoxious as always. However, although his words sounded a bit rude, it no longer contained the contempt it originally had when the two of them met for the first time. In his own way, Maddie had recognized Lux's bravery and no longer treated him with disdain. Lux accepted the storage bag and checked its contents. The red-headed boy almost dropped the bag given to him when he saw the 10 beast cores that were the size of tennis balls. "I can't take this." Lux tried to return the storage bag to Colette's hand, but the little girl ran behind Maddie and stuck her tongue out at the half-elf who wanted to return her gift. "Just take it already," Maddie shouted. He wanted to impress Colette, so he took a firm stance and prevented Lux from returning the storage bag to Colette. "Are you really a man? If you don't like her gift, then give it to me. I'll use it myself." "What do you mean you'll use it yourself? That's for Big Brother." Colette glared at Maddie, which made the dwarf boy blush, because he found her glare very adorable. Colette then placed her hands on her hips and then turned her head to look up at Lux, who was struggling to keep himself from chuckling over Maddie's submissive attitude. "Big Brother, if you really feel bad about it, you can just help us with our dungeon expedition later." Colette tried to butter Lux up, so he would no longer think of returning her gift. "Having a strong person join our party will definitely help us clear the dungeon." "Dungeon expedition?" Lux frowned. "Are you talking about raiding the Bronze Crypt?" There was only one dungeon in the beginner's area, and it was the Bronze Crypt located in the south zone of Leaf Village. This was also where the undead swarm had broken out from not long ago. It made Lux wonder if it was a good idea to challenge it right now. Duh, there's only one dungeon here in the village. Maddie once again found his courage and decided to vent his frustration on the person whom he had labeled as his rival. "What? Don't tell me you developed a trauma against the undead." Thinking that Lux might have really developed a trauma after the monster outbreak, Colette tried to assure him that their dungeon expedition would be conducted in a safe manner. "Don't worry, Big Brother. We could buy teleportation crystals from the Adventurers Guild," Colette stated. "With the crystals, we will be able to automatically teleport outside of the dungeon anytime we want." Maddie, who was just listening to the side, crossed his arms over his chest. "You don't have to come with us, you know. Even without you, we can beat it just fine." "Shut up, Maddie. You're being mean to Big Brother." Lux snickered internally at the henpecked dwarf boy who wouldn't dare defy Colette's wishes. In the end, he decided to agree to Colette's request. He was also curious to know about what it would be like to explore a dungeon. In these past few days, the half-elf accepted a couple of missions that focused on repairing the village. He hadn't gone out to hunt, so his stats hadn't shown any signs of progression. Now that an opportunity was at hand, he thought that would be a good way to test how strong he and Diablo had become. "Okay." Lux finally agreed to accept Colette's invitation. "When do we leave?" Colette grinned as she looked at the clock hanging on the wall of the Adventurers Guild. "Around 6 when the sun is about to set," Colette replied. "The Bronze Crypt only opens at that time." Lux nodded. "Okay, I will meet you there later. Make sure to prepare everything, including the teleportation crystals." Colette grinned. The red-headed boy bid them all farewell as he went back to his inn to use the beast cores that had been given to him. He was certain that the beast cores Colette gifted him were none other than cores that were looted from rank 2 monsters, which made him a bit excited. After closing the door of his room, Lux immediately took one of the cores from the storage bag and then walked towards the bed. "These are indeed rank 2 beast cores," Lux muttered as he sat on top of the bed. "Now, let's see how many points I get by consuming one." Ding. "Do you wish to consume the rank 2 beast core?" "Yes/no." Lux clicked yes and chose upgrade stat points from the next batch of options. Immediately, rows of text appeared in front of him, which made him grin. Obtained 10 free stats points. Obtained 10 body constitution points. So, rank 2 beast cores will give me 10 free stat points, Lux muttered as he rubbed his chin. "It's quite unfortunate that I haven't learned any new skills and my body constitution points remain the same." The half-elf didn't know from which monsters the beast cores were taken from, so he could only sigh in regret for not being able to acquire more skills to add to his arsenal. "Now it's time to upgrade my body constitution." Lux opened his soul book to allocate points to the Immortal Conqueror's legacy. He was looking forward to seeing what new abilities he would gain once the upgrade was finished. Ding. Congratulations! Your body constitution has been upgraded. Choose one from among these three options as your bonus reward. Option 1. Plus 50 permanent points to vitality. Options 2. Warcry. Plus 30 physical and magical damage to you and your allies. Duration, 5 minutes. Cooldown, 10 minutes. Options 3. Mana Drain. Absorbs the mana of your target for 5 seconds. Mana absorbed is equivalent to 2% of target's maximum mana. Range, 10 meters. Duration, 5 seconds. Cooldown, 30 seconds. The half-elf almost drooled upon seeing the 3 bonus rewards that were presented to him. If possible, he would like to have all 3. It was quite unfortunate that he could only choose one of them. 50 points to vitality is good, because it will increase my health and defense by a substantial amount, Lux thought as he rubbed his chin in contemplation. However, I'm leaning more towards the Warcry and Mana Drain skills. Since Lux had learned Necromancy, Warcry would provide an excellent boost to his summons, increasing their damage. Mana Drain, on the other hand, would allow him to drain his target's mana, allowing him to have an unlimited supply of energy to cast spells. For classes and professions that relied heavily on active skills and spells, this was an ability that they couldn't afford to pass up. The half-elf kept on scratching his head because both Warcry and Mana Drain were very important to him. I wonder if the same options will appear again as I continue to upgrade my body constitution, Lux mused. This is really a hard choice to make, but if I have to choose one over the other, then I'll choose Mana Drain. During the monster outbreak, Lux had been very depressed by his very low mana pool. If he'd had more mana, he would have been able to continuously use his slash skill and summon Diablo and the Forest Wolf over and over again. Although he really wanted to choose Battle Cry, Mana Drain was more important to him right now. Skill Evolution EX detected a new skill. Since the skill is learned from your body constitution upgrade and not from a beast core, evolution requirements will be waived. Mana Drain EX. Absorb the mana of your target for 5 seconds. Mana absorbed is equivalent to 5% of target's maximum mana. Range, 10 meters. Duration, 5 seconds. Cooldown, 30 seconds. Immortal Conqueror's Legacy. Rating, F+. Progress, 6 out of 100. Conquest is not all about claiming lands and expanding your domain. True conquest is conquering the hearts of people. Once you gain their loyalty, the path to dominion will open its doors for you. Upgrade rewards, +5 to all stats, +200 health points, Mana Drain EX. Note, upgrading your special constitution will allow you to unlock its abilities. Name, Lux von Kaiser. Age, 16. Race, half-elf. Rank, none. Health, 450/450. Mana, 130/130. Strength, 25 +3. Intelligence, 25 +1. Vitality, 20. Agility, 23 +3. Dexterity, 20 +3. Defense, 100. Free stat points available, 10. Special abilities, Skill Evolution EX, Mana Drain EX. Skills, Power Shot, /Dark Arrow. After looking at his soul book, Lux eyed the 9 remaining beast cores in his storage bag with determination. My combined stat points right now is 93, Lux muttered. If I convert all of the beast cores into stat points, I will have a total of 193 combined stat points. I'm only 7 points away from becoming an apostle. The half-elf didn't expect that he would be able to graduate from the beginner's village in less than a month after arriving at Elysium. Now he understood how important it was to have many resources, especially a good supply of beast cores, to instantly raise a person's stats to a very high degree. Lux was, of course, very happy with how things turned out, but he also understood that he hadn't achieved his current status by his own abilities alone. Even so, his goal hadn't changed. Once he decided on something, he would carry it out to the best of his abilities. After taking a deep breath to regain his composure, Lux took the beast cores out of the storage bag and consumed them one by one. There was still one more thing he had to do before meeting Colette in a few hours, and that was to visit the Adventurers Guild to choose a job class. Once a person had accumulated 100 combined stats, they would be eligible to pick a job class, which would give them a boost in overall strength. Not only that, they would also learn exclusive skills that belong to their chosen profession. Lux was curious about what kind of job classes would become available to him when he visited the Adventurers Guild. His grandma Vera had told him that there were some hidden job classes that could be found in Elysium as well. These classes were extremely powerful, like the Dragon Rider class, which allowed them to tame dragons that could fight with them in battle. Just like everyone else, Lux also dreamed of having one of those hidden job classes. Most people said that they found these rare classes through fortuitous encounters, while others said they were bestowed upon them by masters who were looking for disciples to inherit their legacies. Lux sighed as he put aside these thoughts for the time being. He had finished consuming all of the beast cores and prepared to leave his room to visit the Adventurers Guild. He had no intention of leaving Leaf Village anytime soon because he still needed to do a few things in order to prepare for the goal he had in mind. As long as this goal was achieved, he could leave Leaf Village with a clear conscience. Lux decided to pave his own path in the world of Elysium, regardless of what people thought of him. As long as his grandma Vera, Max, and Ariel believed in him, then he could walk the rough and winding road with his head held high. A job class change? Certainly, the guild receptionist said with a smile. Please follow me, Lux. We need to go to the back of the guild where the shrine is. Thank you, Miss Amelia, Lux replied. After walking for a few minutes, Amelia led Lux to a small shrine where a white crystal ball the size of a basketball ball was placed on a pedestal. On their short walk towards their destination, the guild receptionist gave Lux some tips when it came to choosing a job class. Lux had already asked his grandma about changing professions in Elysium, so he already knew most of what Amelia was telling him. Even so, he appreciated the gesture because it meant that the receptionist cared for his well-being. Just place your hand on the crystal ball, Lux, Amelia said. Make sure to think carefully before you choose your profession. Lux nodded. I will. Thank you, Miss Amelia. After taking a deep breath, Lux placed his palm over the crystal ball. A few seconds later, it glowed and a projection appeared in front of him. Name, Lux von Kaiser. Age, 16. Race, half-elf. Rank, none. Compatible job classes. Swordsman, Magic Knight, rare. Magician, Battle Mage, rare. Summoner, unique. Necromancer, hidden class. Lux blinked once then twice after seeing the job class options that were available to him. He had already expected the Necromancer class to appear in his choices, but he didn't expect that it was categorized as hidden class. In Elysium, there were several classes that people could choose from. They are further divided into different types. The first type was the basic job classes, which were available to everyone. Examples of the basic job classes were Swordsman, Thief, Brawler, Magician, Archer, Fighter, and Healer. Then there were the rare job classes. These classes were usually a hybrid of the basic job classes. If a person was good in swordsmanship and capable of wielding magic, then he could become a Magic Knight. Same with magicians who prefer to learn both close combat and magic spells. The option to become a battle mage would be allowed to them. As for unique classes, these were professions that were relatively hard to find. Just like the hidden class, unique classes could only be obtained through fortuitous encounters. These rare events, which would only happen out of the blue, usually bless people to learn job classes that were not available to everyone. Hidden classes were similar to unique classes. Only lucky or very unlucky people could bump into professions that no one usually had access to. An example of this was Lux's Necromancer class. If he didn't acquire the Necromancy skill book during his gacha pull, then there was no way that he would have access to the Summoner and Necromancer job classes from the get-go. Of course, there were instances when people stumbled upon these hidden classes as they journeyed through the world of Elysium. If this happened, they could visit the adventurers' guilds, temples, or shrines to change their professions and start from scratch. Thankfully, however, only the skills of the previous job class would be erased from the person's soul book. Their stat points would remain the same. After thinking for a while, Lux finally decided on the Necromancer job class. Since he had already intended to strengthen Diablo, picking this choice will be the optimal choice for his future progress in Elysium. You have chosen the Necromancer job class. Is this your final answer? Yes/no. Lux chose yes. After making his choice, the crystal ball glowed and enveloped Lux in a white light. This only happened for a brief moment, and yet Lux felt a new kind of power start to flow inside his body. Necromancer, say hello to my little friends. The Necromancer specializes in the practice of black magic, which is sometimes called death magic, that allows them to communicate with and summon the dead. They are also capable of casting curses to weaken their enemies and allow their undead minions to deal them the final blow. You already have learned the necromancy skills for this job class. Calculating job class change bonus as compensation. Job class change bonus. 100% mana regeneration. Plus 500 to health. Plus 1 to all stats. Plus 1 to all summoning skills. Wow! Lux wasn't able to stop himself from voicing out his excitement after seeing the job class bonus that he received. Usually, people who change their professions wouldn't get the same kind of bonus that Lux got. However, since he did not need to learn the Necromancer skills, he was given a job class change bonus as compensation. Seeing Lux's expression, Amelia thought that he had been blessed by a rare job class. She had witnessed this event happen many times in the past, so she just smiled and proceeded to do her job as the guild's receptionist. Have you already chosen a job class? Amelia asked. Lux nodded. Yes, Miss Amelia. Then, please, give me your guild card. We will need to update your current information. I almost forgot. Lux presented his guild card to Amelia, and the receptionist asked the half-elf for a drop of his blood in order to upgrade his current information. The red-headed boy complied, and the information on his guild card was updated. Guild card. Name: Lux von Kaiser. Age: 16. Race: half-elf. Rank: none. Job class: Necromancer. Registered in Leaf Village. In Necromancer, Amelia almost dropped the guild card in her hand after seeing Lux's current job class. Isn't this a hidden class? How did you get this? Lux blinked as the gears in his head started to turn in overdrive as he thought of an excuse to explain how he gained this profession. Usually, hidden classes weren't that easy to obtain. Any individual who acquired a hidden job class would receive special attention from the Adventurers Guild. They could also gain access to information that was exclusive to the Adventurers Guild, like current news in the neighboring kingdoms, or any monster sightings that required strong adventurers to exterminate. During a monster outbreak, I kind of felt a connection with the undead after almost dying, Lux replied. When I was attacked by the Draugr, I thought I was going to die. The thought of death might have unlocked something inside me and allowed me to grasp the power of necromancy. Emily listened to Lux's explanation with a serious expression on her face. This is a possibility. Amelia nodded. There are certain people in history who have unlocked hidden classes during life and death situations. This information has been in the Adventurers Guild Compendium. You're very lucky, Lux. Not many are able to get a hidden class. I'm happy for you. Thank you, Lux replied. He was feeling a bit guilty for lying to Amelia, but he had no other choice. He couldn't possibly explain that he acquired the necromancy job class through you. After leaving the Adventurers Guild, Lux returned to the inn and went back to his room in order to tie up the loose ends of his class change. Lux stared at the 100 untouched stat points in his soul book and decided to start allocating them. After someone had acquired 200 combined stat points, they would step into the ranks of a Grade D Apostle. This was the first step towards breaking through the limits of mortality and would set the person apart from commoners. Therefore, after Lux stepped into this new realm, he would have to leave Leaf Village and go to an intermediate town. But for the time being, Lux had no intention of leaving yet because he still had unfinished business in the beginner's area. Having considered this, he decided to limit his stats, so he wouldn't cross the threshold into that of apostles. Name: Lux von Kaiser. Age: 16. Race: half-elf. Rank: none. Health: 960/960. Mana: 940/940. Strength: 46 plus 3. Intelligence: 46 plus 1. Vitality: 31. Agility: 34 plus 3. Dexterity: 31 plus 3. Free stat points available: 30. Special abilities. Skill Evolution EX. Mana Drain EX. Active skills. Power Shot, Slash, Dark Arrow. Passive skills. Enhance Fortitude. Immortal Conqueror's Legacy. M rating, F+. Progress, 51 out of 100. After limiting his stats, Lux was now only 12 points away from becoming an apostle. Although he had enough stats to do so, he decided to put them on hold until he was done upgrading all of his other skills to the limit of the beginner's area. His health points and mana had risen drastically after he changed his profession, which made him feel more secure in fighting against the monsters that had easily beaten him in the past, just like the Draugr. His first skill summon skeleton that he acquired after he got +1 to all summoning skills had also been upgraded. Choose which upgrade you wish to take. Option 1. Summon 2 skeletons to fight for you instead of 1. Option 2. Upgrade Summon Skeleton skill to Summon Skeleton Warrior. After experiencing the monster outbreak, Lux's mentality had also changed. Instead of quantity, he now focused on quality. Let's go with Summon Skeleton Warrior, Lux muttered as he clicked his choice. Summon Skeleton Warrior. Rating, F+. Mana, 5. Summons 1 Skeleton Warrior to fight for you. Summon duration, 1 hour. Skill cooldown, 5 minutes. Skeleton Warrior. Health, 30. Attack, 5 to 15. Unlike Diablo, whose stats he could see, the stats of the summoned creatures were fixed. This was also an example advantage of having a named creature instead of normal monsters. Their growth rate was at least 2 to 3 times faster when compared to other monsters of the same rank. Lux smirked before going to Diablo's personal page. His named creature was also affected by the +1 to all summoning skills bonus that he received from his class change. He remembered the note telling him that Diablo would go through a qualitative change after he was upgraded again. So Lux happily checked to see if the changes had already been implemented on his named creature status page. Diablo has reached the requirement for a job change. Please choose your named creature's job class wisely. Compatible job classes. Skeleton Barbarian. You mad, bruh? The Skeleton Barbarian is always mad. Its sole purpose is to deal as much damage to the enemy without care for its own life. This is a pure offensive job class that brings fear to the hearts of anyone who faces them in battle. Job class bonus. +20 strength. Active skill, Berserk Stone Body. Skeleton Fighter. If you need a lackey that handles everything like fighting, cooking, or doing the laundry, then the Skeleton Fighter is your best pick. It is not only a warrior, but also a tactician. It has well-rounded abilities that allow it to both attack and defend, depending on the situation. Job class bonus. +10 strength. +5 agility. +5 dexterity. Passive skill, Parry Tactician. Skeleton Shield Warrior. Need a meat shield? Look no further. The Skeleton Shield Warrior is the masochist of the skeletal race. No matter if you're fighting a dwarf or a dragon, this cannon fodder will always die before you. Job class bonus. +20 vitality. +500 health points. Active skill, Taunt. Passive skill, Guts. Diablo can also change job classes. Lux's eyes widened in shock after looking at the 3 options that were presented right in front of him. This also made Lux realize that he still hadn't given his named creature a role in his party. Roles were very important because it could make or break a team's composition, especially when going on raids and dungeon expeditions. Although a barbarian is good, I don't want Diablo to be a mindless killing machine. Lux rubbed his chin. The Skeleton Fighter is also good because it's an all-rounder. As for the Shield Warrior, this is a must-have in any party. Currently, Lux was torn between a Skeleton Fighter and a Skeleton Shield Warrior. After spending a quarter of an hour thinking about the pros and cons of both, he finally settled for the Skeleton Fighter for its well-rounded stats. It could both attack and defend. The Skeleton Fighter had the flexibility that neither the Skeleton Barbarian or the Skeleton Shield Warrior had. Diablo, finally a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. Named Skeleton. Skeleton Fighter. Rating D. Mana, 10. Progress, 35/100. Health, 670/670. Mana, 640/640. Attack, 50 to 65, plus 20 damage from Tranquility. Attack type, ethereal damage. Strength, 33, plus 1. Intelligence, 32. Vitality, 31, plus 2. Agility, 32, plus 2. Dexterity, 32, plus 2. Defense, 75. Title, Firstborn. Active skills, Slash. Passive skills, Parry Tactician. Note, congratulations. Your partner has finally unlocked its first job class. Now things are going to get really interesting. After properly organizing his soul book, Lux unsummoned it and laid on his bed. The beast cores that had been given to him by Colette also allowed him to learn the passive skill Fortitude, which automatically upgraded itself to Enhanced Fortitude due to Lux's skill evolution EX. Enhanced Fortitude. Passive skill. Enhanced Fortitude decreases all damage received by 10%. Although a 10% decrease in damage might not seem much, this would prove very useful when he fought off stronger monsters because it worked for both physical and magical damage. Now I understand why Lord Gerald issued a decree to not allow any of the adults to spoil their children by giving them beast cores to boost their stats at the early stages. Lux mused. It gives them a false sense of security, knowing that they will be able to outclass the monsters in the beginner's area. This carelessness might lead them to lower their guard, causing them to commit several mistakes because they thought that they were strong enough to handle anything the monsters throw at them. I better be careful with my mindset, or else I might suffer the same fate as those sons of noble families who fearlessly challenge the alpha monsters and field bosses due to their boosted stats. Lux glanced at the clock on the wall and decided to take a nap for a few hours before meeting Colette and Maddie at the Bronze Crypt. This had been a very eventful day, and he needed to rest his mind in order to be ready for his first ever dungeon exploration. "So, you're finally here," Maddie said in an annoyed expression. "What took you so long? I've been waiting here for 20 minutes already." "Sorry, I woke up a little late from my nap," Lux apologized. "Where is Colette?" After scanning the faces of the dwarves in front of him, he found that only the adorable little girl was missing. As if waiting for that cue, the sound of hurried footsteps was heard in the clearing. "Sorry, everyone," Colette shouted as she ran towards her party members. "I overslept. Did I make you guys wait for too long?" Maddie smiled as he looked at the object of his affection. "No, we just arrived here a minute ago. You're not late at all." "Really? I'm glad. I thought I made you guys wait." "No, I also overslept a bit." "Ha ha ha." Lux looked at the fawning dwarf boy and forced down his urge to spit on Maddie's face. "When I was the one that was late, you got angry. But when the one you like is late, you turn a blind eye. What's this? Discrimination much? Double standards? Big brother, did I make you wait for long?" Colette shifted her attention to Lux and held his hand. "Sorry, it won't happen again. I just arrived as well," Lux replied. "Don't worry about it." This was the first time Lux would explore a dungeon with a party, so he didn't want to create a commotion and clash with Colette's friends. For now, he decided to turn a blind eye to Maddie's behavior because he understood that the little dwarf was a simp. "This is really like a game," Lux thought as a row of words appeared in front of him. "Do you want to join the Golden Slayers party?" Yes/no. Lux accepted Colette's request and formally joined the Dwarven party. Although there was no option to see each other's health points like in games, forming a party allowed everyone to share team buffs that increased their stats. This was similar to the skill Warcry that Lux didn't get because he chose Mana Drain instead. The moment he joined the party, he felt as if a refreshing breeze blew over him. Seeing his reaction, Maddie immediately smirked and decided to tell him what was happening. Colette changed her profession to Paladin, Maddie explained. Everyone that is in her party gets a passive regeneration boost that heals minor injuries. However, if you get a fatal injury, don't expect it to save your life. "I see." Lux nodded in understanding. "You are amazing, Colette." The little girl smiled after being praised by Lux. Due to her good mood, she grabbed Lux's hand and dragged him towards the entrance of the Bronze Crypt. "Big brother, take a look at this," Colette said as she pointed at a bronze slate located right beside the entrance of the cave. "The names of the top 3 party that have cleared this dungeon in Hell mode are all written here." The rankings are based on their individual performance, but usually, the party who clears the dungeon faster will get in the top 6 spots. I see. Lux glanced at the bronze slate and focused on the name that held the top spot. Aina Van Golden Slayer. Wait, Golden Slayer? Isn't that the name of our party? Lux blinked once then twice before shifting his attention at the adorable little girl that was looking back at him with a big grin on her face. Aina Van Golden Slayer is my big sister, Colette said with pride. Ever since she cleared the dungeon in Hell mode with her party members, her record has never been broken for the past 4 years. Isn't my big sister amazing? She is amazing, Lux agreed. But we can be more amazing than her. How about we beat Hell mode and put our names on this slate as well? Huh? Are you stupid? Maddie, who suddenly appeared beside Colette, glared at Lux. Don't you know that the boss in Hell mode is a rank 2 Berserker Barbarian Draugr? If you want to die, you can go in there by yourself. We're just challenging the normal mode. The rules of dungeons in Elysium were different from the rules of the outside world. In Elysium, all dungeons had 2 modes, normal mode and Hell mode. Hell mode was, of course, the hardest mode, but it also gave better rewards. However, it was very dangerous to choose this mode without proper preparation. Many parties had died for this reason. Fortunately, the penalty for dying inside a dungeon was more forgiving than dying in the open world. Those who died inside the dungeons in Elysium wouldn't really die. They would respawn in the nearest town. But as a penalty, a quarter of their status points would be taken away. After dying, they had no choice but to regain their deducted experience points or consume beast cores to recover these lost points. Even so, this was still a better outcome than challenging an unknown dungeon and dying in the process. Lux was just teasing Colette when he said that they should challenge Hell mode and let their names be written on the bronze slate. The half-elf was aware that with his current strength, he would still need a bit more preparation before he could challenge the Hell mode of the Bronze Crypt. I'm not saying that we should challenge it now, Lux replied to Maddie. Before we leave Leaf Village, most of us will be in the Apostle rank. That is the perfect time to challenge the Hell mode difficulty. Are you sure you don't want to leave your mark here to be seen by future generations? Maddie turned quiet after hearing Lux's words. Of course, he wanted to leave his name on the bronze slate, so others would know that he had once been here in the Leaf Village and had accomplished an amazing feat. That's right, Colette said as she gazed at her sister's name in the bronze slate. Before we leave this village, we should leave our mark here. Although I'm not confident that we can beat my big sister's record, taking second place is not impossible. The members of Colette's party also nodded their heads in agreement. They also wanted to leave a memento behind. Having their names recorded on the bronze slate was the best thing they could do to preserve their legacy. Okay, let's do this. Colette placed her hand on the bronze gate, which would lead them inside the dungeon. The adorable dwarf chose normal difficulty. A second later, the gate in front of them opened wide. Please, listen to my orders once we're inside, Colette reminded everyone. Although this is just the normal difficulty, we might still be killed if we're not careful. Everyone, including Lux, nodded in agreement. Seeing that no one had any complaints, Colette led the way and everyone else followed behind her. Summon Skeleton Warrior. A gray skeleton with a horned helmet, wielding a bone sword and a shield, appeared in front of Lux. Not bad, Lux thought as he observed his skeleton warrior. From the stats alone, he could already tell that it was stronger than Diablo back when it was still a named creature at its first level. Skeleton Warrior. Health, 30. Attack, 5 to 15. Is this the skeleton that fought alongside us back then? Colette asked as she looked at the skeleton warrior. He looked stronger than before. No, this is not Diablo, Lux replied. I just want to see how this skeleton performs during a fight. I see. Colette nodded her head in understanding. Still, I think it is stronger than most monsters here in normal mode. Of course, except the dungeon boss called Dark Draugr. Lux already knew that the only real threat in normal mode was the boss, which was a monster that was at the peak of rank 1 monsters. This was why he had summoned his skeleton warrior in this stage. This dungeon was the perfect place to test its fighting abilities. Well then, time to suit up Lux thought as he equipped his relentless warrior armor and his new sword, Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker, Dark Blade of Eternity. Rarity, unique. One-handed sword. Requirement, 100 combined stats. Attack, 100 to 145 dark damage. Physical skills deal 20% more damage. Has a 10% chance to trigger double damage with each attack. This ability works with skills as well. Lux's red armor and sword caught the party's attention because they looked so cool as a set. Even Maddie, who liked nitpicking everything about him, was left speechless by his current attire. "Big brother, you look so cool," Colette exclaimed as she looked at Lux with sparkling eyes. "Where did you get that armor and sword? I'm pretty sure that this set can't be found here in Leaf Village. My grandma gave it to me. After hearing what happened during the monster outbreak, she thought that I needed equipment to protect myself in battle." Earlier, Lux had been wearing his wolf's leather armor, which was considered a fashionable set of armor. Since he had 2 interchangeable equipment slots, the half-elf decided to use the wolf's armor as his default fashion set to make others think that it was his only set of armor. This sword seems powerful. Maddie eyed Lux's weapon with great interest. He was a dwarf weapon master, which was a rare class just like the paladin. It was normal for Maddie to have a great interest in swords, so he had always been familiar with them. He could naturally feel that Lux's swords were quite extraordinary. "Its name is Oathbreaker," Lux said with a smile. "It's a good sword. Thank you." After finishing their short chat, everyone started to pull their focus back to their mission. Lux, Colette, and Maddie were the vanguards, while the mages Andy and Axel were at the rear. The only cleric in their party, Helen, was at the center of the formation, and she was protected by everyone. The skeleton warrior was used as a scout for detecting if there were any enemies ahead. It didn't take long before the skeleton warrior attacked the lone zombie that it had detected in front of it. The battle didn't last long. Naturally, the skeleton warrior came out victorious. Lux observed his summon and found out that it wasn't as smart as Diablo when it came to making decisions in battle. Although its performance was passable, he had long gotten used to Diablo's style. The skeleton warrior's movement and attack patterns were too stiff for his taste. Maybe things will change after its next upgrade, Lux thought as he continued to follow the skeleton from behind. On their way, their party encountered 2 skeletons and a zombie blocking the path they wanted to take. Colette, Maddie, and the skeleton warrior only took a short time to deal with them because they were merely small fries. After experiencing the monster outbreak, these low-level monsters were no longer a big deal to Colette's party. Just like Lux, their parents had given them beast cores to allow them to boost their stats and get their first job class. As a result, they had become stronger than they originally were during the attack on Leaf Village. Lux could somewhat understand what Colette and the others were doing. They were trying to prove that they were no longer the weak little children who had almost lost their lives in a battle that was way out of their league. People grow through adversity, Lux thought as he kept his stance to protect the mages and the cleric from any sudden attacks from their rear. Although everyone had a boost in their strength, none of them wanted to be too complacent during their very first dungeon expedition. An hour passed, and, just as Lux expected, their party managed to reach the boss room without any hitch from the common undead. "This is the real thing." Colette gazed at the door with determination. "Everyone, please prepare to battle. Our opponent is a monster that is only a step away from becoming a rank 2 monster. It is more powerful than the Draugrs we faced on a monster outbreak. Does everyone have their teleportation crystal?" Lux, Matt, and the rest of the party nodded their heads. If they really couldn't overcome their opponent, they would use the teleportation crystal to escape the battle. "Okay, let's go," Colette stated as she pushed open the door. After everyone had entered the room, the bronze gate behind them closed, sealing their path from behind. The dim light coming from the glowing crystals in the room allowed them to see a figure seated on what seemed to be a small hill made of bones. Blue orbs of light glowed at the monster's eye sockets as the dark Draugr slowly stood up from where he sat. "It is about to attack," Lux said with a serious expression on his face. "Colette, your orders?" Lux asked Colette, but the latter didn't reply to his question. "Colette, what's wrong?" Lux was about to pat her shoulder because she didn't give him any reply. However, before his hand could even reach her, the little girl collapsed on the floor, breathing heavily. Colette! Lux immediately crouched down to check on the girl's condition, but all he could see was that Colette's body was trembling all over. Don't tell me this is some sort of trauma she developed from the monster outbreak? Lux shifted his attention to his other party members, and almost all of them were showing the same expressions as Colette. The dark Draug released a ferocious howl and charged towards them, holding a black sword in each hand. Skeleton warrior. Block him, Lux ordered. The skeleton warrior charged at the dark Draugr in an attempt to stop its charge, but as soon as the two undead warriors collided, the skeleton warrior shattered into pieces. The dark Draugr continued its charge towards the dwarves with no intention of showing any mercy. SSH*T. Lux cursed out loud as he grabbed Colette from the ground and carried her towards the bronze gate. Maddie, Andy, Axel, Helen, use your teleportation crystals now. Maddie breathed heavily as sweat streamed down his forehead. His body shuddered uncontrollably as he forced himself to move, but the Draugr's intimidating presence froze him in place. Andy, Axel, and Helen weren't faring any better. Lux had forgotten that these dwarves were just 12-year-old children. Although they had already changed their professions and became stronger, deep down inside, the monster outbreak had left a scar in their minds. The half-elf even had a hunch that the reason why their party decided to challenge the bronze crypt was to overcome the fear that had buried itself deep into their hearts. Mama, Maddie's tears and snot poured out from his eyes and nose as the dark Draug raised its weapons to cut him to pieces. Maddie, Colette shouted as she looked helplessly at her friend who was about to get killed in front of her eyes. It was at that moment that a black knight suddenly appeared and smashed its shield against the side of the Draugr's body, sending the latter flying a few meters away. The dark Draug howled in anger as it stood back up, facing the enemy that had dared to get in its way. A black knight stood in front of the dwarves, carrying the sword, Tranquility, and the shield, Dawn, in its hands. A pair of golden eyes glowed brightly inside the Black Knight's helmet as it stared at its opponent fearlessly. Diablo, don't let that bastard near the children, Lux ordered. The Black Knight nodded its head before summoning a forest wolf to fight alongside it. Diablo, Lux's first-named creature and trusted companion, pointed its sword at the dark Draugr's face and moved it in a taunting manner. After being upgraded and getting its first job class, Diablo's intelligence had risen to a higher level. He knew that his opponent was stronger than him, but he didn't care. Right now, he only had one duty, and that was to protect everyone in the boss room and ensure that all of them would be able to leave this skeleton warrior go. Lux ordered as he hastily carried Helen in a princess carry. The skeleton warrior, on the other hand, grabbed Andy and Axel, carrying them like sacks over its shoulders. Maddie had somehow recovered his wits and ran alongside them. Only when all the children were at the edge of the room, with their backs against the bronze gate, did Lux finally breathe a sigh of relief. He then watched as Diablo and the Dark Draug fought an intense one-on-one battle. The Dark Draugr's twin blades glowed as it prepared to use its slash against the Black Knight in front of it. Diablo didn't back down as he, too, prepared to unleash his own slash skill as well. When the two attacks met, the Dark Draugr took a step back, while Diablo skidded a few meters away. Even so, the golden embers that glowed brightly on the Black Knight's helmet never wavered. Diablo lunged towards the Dark Draugr and thrust its sword forward. The latter deflected it to the side and counterattacked with a stab of its own, but it was blocked by Diablo's round shield. The two undead exchanged several blows against each other, with Diablo being pushed back most of the time. Even so, Lux's named creature had successfully activated his parry skill several times, dealing damage to the enemy in front of him. After watching the battle, the children had somewhat recovered their composure and were able to think clearly. All of them were surprised that the skeleton that had fought alongside them during the monster outbreak had become so strong. They couldn't believe that in the short period of time that they hadn't seen Diablo, The latter was now able to stand up against a rank 1 monster by himself. Amazing, Maddie stuttered. Despite the difference in strength, Diablo is able to fight back. Do you think Diablo can win? Helen asked. No, Lux replied. The Dark Draugr is stronger than Diablo right now, so he can't win by himself. However, he is not alone. All of you stay here. I'll help Diablo. Skeleton Warrior, protect the children. Lux didn't wait for any of their replies and charged at the battlefield, pointing his finger at their adversary. Dark Arrow. An arrow of darkness shot out from Lux's finger and hit the Dark Draugr's face. Unfortunately, it didn't trigger the blind effect that he was hoping for. The Dark Draugr glanced at Lux's direction in annoyance, but before it could even attack the red-headed boy, a shield slammed into its body, sending it skidding several meters away. Just as the Dark Draugr was about to counterattack, the forest wolf jumped and clawed the undead's face once before running away. Ever since the battle had started, the forest wolf was doing hit-and-run tactics following Diablo's will. It was weaker than the Dark Draugr and would instantly die if the latter slashed it once. However, Diablo used it effectively and only ordered it to attack whenever the rank 1 monster couldn't retaliate. Dark Arrow. Another arrow of darkness landed on the Dark Draugr's head. This skill dealt no damage since its sole purpose was to blind its targets. Unfortunately, the blind effect didn't trigger, which made Lux wonder if their enemy was immune to blind spells. This time around, the Dark Draugr was truly mad. 3 enemies were attacking it at the same time in quick succession, and it was having trouble deciding who among them it was going to attack first. Diablo had kept close proximity to the Draugr, ready to react to whatever kind of action it might take. The named creature's defenses and stats had been upgraded, so only a third of its health points had been shaved off by the enemy during their intense exchange earlier. Lux was also starting to familiarize himself with the boss monster's attack pattern. He was only waiting for an opportunity to strike and deal it a devastating blow. The Dark Draugr howled as it once again activated its slash skill. Diablo received it with practiced defense, mitigating the damage he received. At the same time, the forest wolf and Lux charged at the Draugr from its left and right sides. Slash! Lux roared as Oathbreaker shone in a crimson glow. Its blade slashed the undead's body, shaving off 1/10 of its health points in a single blow. The forest wolf once again swiped its claws on the Draugr's head, dealing very little damage. The Dark Draugr took a step back due to the force behind Lux's blow and raised both of its swords to a defensive position. Lux immediately backed away because he didn't want to continue attacking the Draugr that had opted to defend itself from further attacks. However, the half-elf didn't forget to fire a dark arrow on the immobile undead to try his luck. This time around, the blind effect triggered and a black mist oozed out of the Dark Draugr's eyes. Andy, Axel, attack it now! Lux shouted, which brought the 2 dwarf mages back to their senses. That's right. We came here to fight, not to watch, Andy muttered as he raised his staff and aimed it at the undead that was suffering from blindness. After saying a short incantation, a ball of flames the size of a tennis ball appeared at the tip of his staff. Fire bullet! Just like Andy, Axel had also cast his own offensive spell and fired it at the same time his friend did. Water bullet! The 2 spells pushed the Dark Draugr another 2 steps from where it stood, making the 2 mages regain their confidence. We can do this, Lux shouted. This is not a one-on-one battle. This is an 8 versus 1 battle. We got the upper hand. There's no need to be scared. Diablo and I will protect all of you. So fight. Colette, Maddie, and Helen gripped their weapons firmly. After hearing Lux's encouragement and seeing Andy's and Axel's attacks land on their enemy, their courage had once again been reignited. Charge! Colette ordered as she ran towards the Dark Draugr with her mace ready to strike. Maddie ran alongside Colette because there was no way he would let her fight alone. Holding his sword in a firm grip, he rushed ahead of her and slashed at the Draugr that was wildly swinging its weapon around itself in an attempt to hit something. As soon as Maddie felt his sword hit the monster's body, his blood started to boil for battle. He no longer felt afraid and timed his attacks alongside his companions. Holy Smite! Colette shouted as she smashed her mace against the dark Draugur's right leg, forcing it to lose its balance. Helen, the cleric of the group, chanted, and an arrow of light shot out from the tip of her staff, flying towards the undead that had haunted her dreams for the past few days. Holy arrow! The arrow of light hit the undead's chest and made it shriek in pain. Holy and life magic were the bane of the undead, which made Colette's and Helen's attack deal significant damage to it. Suddenly, the dark Draugur roared and a red mist oozed out of its body. The blind effect had also lost its effect, which allowed the rank 1 monster to finally see the insects that were ganging up on it. Careful, it went berserk. Lux shouted, Colette, Maddie, back away. Let Diablo handle the aggro first. Andy, Axel, Helen, stop firing spells and wait for my signal. The children obeyed Lux's orders without any complaints and allowed Diablo to fight the Draugur head-on. They didn't realize that they had started to recognize Lux as the leader of the party instead of Colette. The dwarves listened to his orders as they reorganized their formation. Although he couldn't see their enemy's health bar, Lux was sure that the damage that they had dealt had surpassed half of the Dark Draugur's health points, which forced it into a berserk state. Earlier, Diablo was forced in a passive position where it had no choice but to block, dodge, and parry the Dark Draugur's strengthened attacks, which slowly depleted its health points. Summon Diablo, Lux shouted before his partner's life was reduced to 0. The first thing that Diablo did after being respawned was to use Shield Bash against its enemy in order to prevent it from targeting the children. After a short delay, 3 spells flew side by side and blasted the Dark Draugurs several meters away from where it stood. Dark Arrow, Lux shouted for the umpteenth time in the hope that it would once again trigger the blind effect. Unfortunately, nothing happened, which forced the half-elf to use his other skill. Mana Drain. After using spell after spell, the half-elf's mana had decreased a considerable amount. Lux used Mana Drain after the skill's cooldown was over in order to replenish his dwindling mana reserves. 10 minutes passed as this intense battle continued. Diablo had been killed 4 times during that time, but it had successfully fended off all attacks aimed at the children. Soon, the red mist surrounding the Dark Draugur faded. Lux and Diablo immediately closed the distance to deliver devastating blows, while their enemy entered a weakened state. Slash! Diablo swung his sword on the Draugur's left arm, while Lux's slashed its right, successfully cutting them off their enemy's body. Now, do it! Lux shouted as he grabbed what remained of the Draugur's right arm, and Diablo did the same with their enemy's left arm. After doing so, Colette and Maddie unleashed devastating attacks on the undead's body as if they were injected with chicken blood. Andy, Axel, and Helen watched this scene with complicated expressions on their faces. From their perspective, Diablo and Lux were like 2 big brothers who were pinning down a bully that had bullied their younger brother and sister. The 2 dwarven children attacked without mercy, as if venting out all of their frustrations on the person that bullied them, while their big brothers ensured that the big bad bully couldn't fight back. The other 3 watched the one-sided beating and glanced at each other. Soon, they also ran towards the Dark Draugur like little gremlins shouting war cries. Half a minute later, 5 little children were hacking, slashing, and bashing the pitiful undead who could only passively accept their beating. The 2 mages and clerics smashed their staffs on the Draugur's face, while Colette and Maddie bashed and hacked its body. Since the Dark Draugur was already at a weakened state, Diablo and Lux were able to hold it in place due to their stats that hovered near the apostle rank. Lux could have ended the Draugur's life faster if he worked together with Diablo. However, he didn't do that for a simple reason. He wanted the children to overcome the trauma that had started to grow in their hearts. The only way for them to do that was to face their fears head-on and overcome it. This was a very common occurrence for those that suffered in driving accidents. Once those people sat behind the wheel again, they would have a distinct fear gripping their hearts. The best way to cure this feeling was to resume driving as soon as possible. If they delayed it, the trauma would just grow. It would make it harder for them to return to and regain their confidence in driving cars. Lux didn't want the children to suffer, so he decided to nip the problem in the bud, while it still hadn't fully grown. After 5 excruciating minutes, the dark Draugr's body shattered into a pile of bones before turning into particles of light. It left behind a beast core as well as one of the dark swords it had wielded earlier. We did it. Colette raised her weapon in excitement. We won. Maddie clenched his fist in triumph before giving Colette a high five. The other children also cheered and hugged each other for a job well done. Lux watched the young dwarves with satisfied expressions plastered on their faces as they realized they had succeeded in defeating the boss monster. It was also at that moment that a series of notifications appeared in front of him, which made the smile on his face widen. Achievement unlocked. Clearing Bronze Crypt Normal Mode. Rewards: 5 free stats points, 5 body constitution points, 5 skill points. Lux didn't expect that he would get additional rewards for clearing the dungeon. Although the rewards weren't much, he was still happy to receive them. Big brother, we did it. Colette happily jumped up and down like a little kid that had won a competition. Yes, you did well. Lux gave Colette a high five, which made the adorable girl giggle. The half-elf raised his hand to also give the other children a high five, which they gave happily. Even Maddie returned Lux's gesture, which proved that the dwarf boy was in a good mood. Now it's time to divide the loot, Colette said after calming down. All the dwarves looked at the beast core and the sword lying on the ground and exchanged a glance with each other. I don't want it, Maddie said. Me either, Axel stated. Me either, Helen giggled. Colette smiled as she looked at Lux. Big brother, you can have the beast core and the black sword. I also don't want it. Lux nodded his head in understanding. All right, I will gratefully accept your wishes. All the dwarves looked up at him with smiles on their faces. They knew that if Lux wasn't there with them, all of them would have been killed by the dark Draugr. The seed of fear and doubt that had started to grow in their hearts could have also grown bigger and haunted them for the rest of their lives. Fortunately, they had already managed to break free from its hold and overcome their fears. Right now, all of them had the confidence that if they were to meet Draugrs in the future, their bodies would no longer freeze up like scared children that were waiting for themselves to be killed. Big brother, do you have a moment? Colette grabbed Lux's hand after their party had exited the dungeon. What's wrong? Lux replied with a smile. Nothing much. I just want to tell you that I have a beautiful older sister that is of the same age as you, Colette stated. I guarantee that she is a good person. Although you're not a dwarf, I can play matchmaker and let the two of you meet. What do you say? Lux blinked his eyes once then twice as he stared at the adorable girl that was looking back at him with a leave everything to me expression. I will think about it, Lux replied. Colette pouted. Big brother, my big sister is very popular, you know? If you don't act fast, you will miss the opportunity of a lifetime. My big sister is that good. Lux didn't know whether he should laugh or cry at Colette's attempt to play matchmaker. In the end, the little girl was able to make the half-elf promise that he would meet her sister, Aina, once he left Leaf Village. After accomplishing her goal, Colette and her friends walked towards the village while chattering happily. Lux walked behind them with a helpless smile on his face. For some reason, he was looking forward to his adventures with this little band of merry dwarf children, while waiting for the day when he could leave Leaf. After arriving in Leaf Village, Lux parted with Colette and her friends and went back to the inn to check his spoils of war. He felt that it wasn't appropriate to appraise the loot that the monster had dropped while they were still in the dungeon, so he decided that he would do it when he was alone. Lux summoned the sword that the dark Draugr had dropped and checked its information. The Black Blade, Foe of the Covenant. Rarity, rare. One-handed sword. Attack, 30 to 50. When equipped, the user will gain the passive skill Dual Wielding. Dual Wielding. Able to wield 2 one-handed weapons in each hand without receiving any penalty. You will be able to use both weapons as if you were wielding them with your dominant hand. Its attack is stronger than Tranquility and allows its user to dual wield, Lux thought as he rubbed his chin. But Tranquility can summon a forest wolf. Also, having Dawn on Diablo allows him to use Shield Bash to stun enemies for a brief moment. The reason why the Dark Draugr wasn't able to deal any powerful blows is due to Shield Bash. After thinking things through, Lux decided not to swap the Black Blade with Tranquility. His only weapon right now was Oathbreaker. It was a unique weapon that could be considered a cheat item in his current level. I guess for now, I can equip both Oathbreaker and the Black Blade, Lux muttered as he returned the sword inside his storage ring. Lux also didn't forget to allocate his rewards to his body constitution and Diablo to increase their progression level. As for the free stat points he didn't touch them for the time being because he had no intention of breaking through the Apostle grade anytime soon. Free stat points available, 35. Immortal Conqueror's Legacy. Rating, F+. Progress, 56 out of 100. Diablo. Rating D. Progress, 40/100. Colette and the others invited him to come with them to the Figaro Garden located in the north zone of Leaf Village. This was a place where insectoid monsters roamed. According to the adorable little dwarf girl, there were rumors that there was a unique weapon hidden in this area. This was also the reason why they planned to investigate by themselves and check if the rumors were true. As the owner of the Elysium Compendium, Lux was aware of all the unique quests that could be found in Leaf Village. One of them was even a mythical quest that was exclusive only to beginner villages. The mythical quest would give out mythical ranked items as rewards. However, its difficulty was so high that no beginner in their right minds would dare and try to challenge it. Also, since mythical quests were extremely rare quests, the only way to acquire them was based on luck and fortuitous encounters. Currently, Lux had 2 mythical items in his possession. One was the Elysium Compendium, which had all the information about Elysium. The other one was the black coffin in Lux's possession that went by the name Blackfire. The Elysium Compendium alone was already considered a priceless treasure. If Lux could complete the mythical quest before he left Leaf Village, then he would gain another trump card on his journey through Elysium. Actually, the trigger of the quest was simpler than expected. All they needed to do was defeat all of the alpha monstress that were exclusive to each zone. However, even if the dwarves defeated them, they would not be aware that they had triggered a mythical quest by accident. Until now, no one had managed to complete the mythical quest in the beginner's village because of how random it was. Mythical quests. Birth of a Legend. Defeat the alpha monster of the Aspiration Plains. Carbuncle, 0/1. Defeat the alpha monster of the Leaf Village Cemetery. Ghoul Beast, 0 out of 1. Defeat the alpha monster of Figaro Garden. Red-Eyed Terror Mantis, 0 to 1. Defeat the field boss of Heartwood Forest. Forest Wolf King, 0 out of 1. Rewards, 500 skill points, 50 body constitution points, 50 stats points. Leaf Village Equipment Set, Mythical. 1 random mythical item exclusive to the Leaf Village. Note, the mythical item reward will depend on your overall performance, so you better do your best. Lux was sure that even if the dwarves were able to defeat the 3 alpha monsters, the field boss, Forest Wolf King, was something that they wouldn't dare to fight. Forest Wolf King. Beginner Zone, Field Boss. King of the Forest. Rank 4 Field Boss Monster. Health, 300,000/300,000. Mana, 80,000/80,000. Strength, 200. Intelligence, 100. Vitality, 250. Agility, 250. Dexterity, 150. Skills, Windwalk, Windblade, Air Blast, Call the Wild. Lux estimated that only a 100-man team composed of Grade D up to Grade B apostles will be able to fight against this field boss, who is the apex creature within the boundaries of Leaf Village. Field bosses were different from normal rank 3 monsters because of their strength and rarity. Similar to how Diablo was different from normal skeletons, field bosses also had higher stats and powerful skills that surpassed monsters of the same rank. Clearing the mythical quest was only one of the 2 reasons why Lux was not in a hurry to leave Leaf Village. His other goal was more important than the mythical quest, and it was on a more personal level. As long as this goal wasn't achieved, Lux wouldn't leave the beginner's village even after he completed the mythical quest that no one had cleared in the past. Lux closed his eyes, and the images of Colette and the other dwarves appeared in his head. They were the first companions that he had met in Elysium, and thought that it wouldn't be a bad idea to go on adventures with them while he was still in Leaf Village. "Grandma, I think I've made some new friends today," Lux said softly as he closed his eyes. "I hope that tomorrow will be another wonderful day." A minute later, Lux was already fast asleep. He dreamt a happy dream, a dream where he and the dwarf children went on epic adventures all around Elysium, adventures that would be remembered for a lifetime. "Big brother, over here," Colette called out to Lux as soon as he appeared at the northern gate of Leaf Village. "You guys are a bit early," Lux said with a smile. In order to prevent making the children wait, he had come half an hour earlier from their appointment. However, it seemed that he was not the only one who thought of this, because everyone else had already gathered, with the addition of one more dwarf boy in the party. "Big brother, let me introduce you to our ranger, Robin," Colette said with a smile. "He wasn't able to accompany us yesterday because he was finishing a quest for his job class promotion." Lux eyed the young dwarf with short dark brown hair and hazel eyes, who was looking back at him with a frown. There was a hint of disapproval on Robin's face, but Lux had long been used to this kind of expression from the dwarves in Leaf Village. Only Colette and the other children that had explored the dungeon with Lux treated him like a friend. "Nice to meet you. Just call me Lux," Lux commented. Robin gave the half-elf a brief nod before averting his gaze. Clearly, he wasn't interested in getting friendly with the new addition to their party. "Now that we're all here, let's go to the Figaro Gardens," Colette stated. "My acquaintance told me earlier that there are several red-striped predator mosquitoes wandering around in the middle areas of the garden. Although we can fight them, it is best that we avoid them if possible. If any of you see one, alert everyone in the group so we can withdraw as fast as possible." Everyone nodded their heads in understanding. The red-striped predator mosquitoes were one of the most annoying monsters in Figaro Garden. All of them were a foot tall and were known to always travel in groups. Their bite had a mild paralyzing effect, but it was not strong enough to completely render someone immobile. The problem was that, since they traveled in groups, the effect of each bite would stack. If someone were bitten more than 6 times, the paralyzing venom would take 100% effect and render the victim completely paralyzed. After that, they would have no choice but to watch in horror as these blood-sucking monsters drink their fill until they slowly lose consciousness due to blood loss. There was a saying in the Figaro Gardens: "If the mosquitoes didn't kill you, the other bugs will." Unconscious prey was a welcome meal to any insects that lived within the garden, that had already claimed countless lives since the world of Elysium had opened to the world of Solais. After traveling for 15 minutes on foot, all of them finally arrived at their destination. Lux was mildly surprised when he found out that the Figaro Garden was actually a place where giant plants grow. For a brief moment, he even thought that he had shrunk because of the sheer size of the flowers around them. "It's like a forest of flowers," Lux muttered as he followed behind Colette's group. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Colette asked with a smile. "Yes, but I can also sense the danger in the surroundings," Lux replied. "I feel as if we will be attacked at any moment." As if waiting for that cue, a meter-tall ant suddenly came out of the grass beside the half-elf, which made the latter jump back in fright. Colette, Maddie, and the rest of the group laughed after seeing this funny scene. "Damn, that almost gave me a heart attack," Lux said as he pressed his hand over his chest. The ant that had crawled out of the bushes created a clicking sound with its mandibles as if trying to communicate with them. Lux did his research and read the information about all the monsters in the Figaro Garden. The ants in the garden were considered pacifists and simply minded their own business as they scavenged for food. They would not actively attack anyone, and they were also known for carrying wounded dwarves back to Leaf Village if they stumbled upon them while they were foraging. Because of this, the people in Leaf Village would always warn the foreigners to never attack, or worse, kill the ants, because no matter how docile they usually were, once they were attacked, they would retaliate. If someone killed one of their members, they would attack in swarms and hunt down the offender all the way to Leaf Village. Anyone who committed this taboo would not be protected by the town's guards. They would be left to their own fate. As the ant tried to communicate with Colette and her friends, more ants came out of the bushes carrying berries and other foodstuff. They walked past the dwarves as they headed back to their nest. Some of the ants were even kind enough to offer berries to the dwarves, which they politely declined. Lux watched this scene with great interest because this was the first time that he was interacting with the ants of Figaro Garden. I see. Robin nodded. Thank you for the warning. We greatly appreciate it. The ant clicked its mandible a few more times before leaving the group of dwarves to go back to its nest. After the ants disappeared, everyone looked at Robin in askance. He was the only ranger in the group with a skill called beast empathy, which allowed him to understand the language of monsters on a basic level. They said that there are several dwarves fighting against the alpha monster, roughly a kilometer in that direction, Robin said as he pointed towards the east. The ant also warned that dozens of red-striped predator mosquitoes are loitering around the northern area. Colette frowned because, according to the rumors, the location of a unique weapon that they were searching for was said to be found in the northern area of the garden. However, the presence of over a dozen predator mosquitoes was extremely bad news for them. Although they weren't as strong as a rank 1 monster, their sheer numbers and potential threat was more than enough for the little girl to reconsider their options. For the time being, why don't we head to the east? Colette proposed. Since the ant said that several dwarves are fighting against an alpha beast, it must be the graduation ceremony of Leaf Village. Graduation ceremony? Lux asked. What graduation ceremony? Helen, the party's cleric, patted Lux's arm in order to get his attention. Big brother, the graduation ceremony is when the dwarves challenge any of the alpha monsters after reaching the apostle rank, Helen explained with a smile. For us dwarves who go to Elysium, this is our rite of passage to becoming full-fledged warriors. I see. Lux nodded in understanding. Since this is a special occasion, why don't we go and observe their fight against the alpha monster? This will allow us to prepare for our own graduation ceremony before we leave Leaf Village. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement and immediately walked towards the east. Lux didn't think that this so-called graduation ceremony was out of place. In fact, he even thought that it was a very sensible thing to do. After breaking through the apostle rank, they would formally be known as true warriors, and fighting an alpha beast was a good way to test their mettle before advancing onto their next journey in Elysium. Alpha beasts were peak rank 2 monsters. Although fighting them one-on-one was almost a suicide mission, fighting them as a party was doable. As they neared the territory of the alpha monster, they noticed that several dwarves were also headed into the same direction that they were. Graduation ceremonies were quite popular among the dwarf children, and they all thought that it was a good opportunity to see just how strong an alpha beast was from a distance. Soon, sounds of metals clashing against each other and shouting reached their ears. In a wide clearing, a group of 6 dwarves were fighting against the alpha monster of the Figaro Garden known as the red-eyed Pteromantis. A single glance was enough to tell Lux that the dwarves had the upper hand in the battle. Amazing, Lux muttered. Their teamwork is amazing. Lux watched in awe as a shield warrior, a swordsman, and a spearman took turns in keeping the red-eyed Pteromantis from attacking their rear fighters. At the back, 2 mages fired spell after spell, while the shaman erected a healing ward that passively regenerated the health of everyone in the party. Whenever the Pteromantis changed target and attacked the mages, the shield warrior would use a taunt skill to force the monster to drag its attention to him. Once they had successfully shifted its attention, the swordsman and the spearman would unleash a barrage of attacks at the alpha monster, making it shriek in pain. Red-eyed Pteromantis, Figaro Garden apex creature. Rank 2 alpha monster. Health 8,560/40,000. Mana 2,250/10,000. Strength 100. Intelligence 50. Vitality 100. Agility 150. Dexterity 100. Skills Fury/Gust Berserk. After the health points of the Pteromantis was halved, the color of its body immediately turned red. This signaled the start of its berserk phase, which was also the most dangerous moment for the dwarves who were currently facing it with their amazing teamwork. The dwarves watching from afar clenched their fists in excitement because this was the turning point in the battle. All of them could feel their blood boiling as they watched the amazing display of skills in front of them. While the battle between the berserk terror mantis and the dwarves were about to reach its climax, a buzzing sound reached everyone's ears. All the dwarves in the area unconsciously shuddered because this sound was very familiar to them. Anyone who had been exploring in the Figaro Gardens for a long time was very familiar with this sound because it was the sign that a swarm of red-striped predator mosquitoes were headed in their direction. Everyone retreat to the south. The swordsman of the dwarf party that were facing off against the terror mantis shouted. He was the leader of the group and knew more than anyone else how dire their current situation was. After issuing his order, his party immediately disengaged their battle with the red terror mantis and hurriedly retreated. However, the berserked alpha monster had no intention of letting them get away that easily. The other dwarves, who had been observing the battle, also ran as if their pants were on fire. Lux's and Colette's group were among them, and everyone's faces were grim. As they ran away in haste, Lux glanced behind him and saw a dark cloud headed in their direction. The sound of buzzing wings became stronger as the predator mosquitoes drew near. The half-elf had no doubt in his mind that if any creature were unfortunate enough to be overtaken by the swarm of mosquitoes, the only fate that awaited them was turning into a dried husk with all of their blood sucked out of their bodies.